What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4K. Chapter 62 The correct way to open cheat, turtle. No. Turtle immortal. Open black lens bracket 3 consecutive updates close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Tisk. He's anxious. Tianyu remembers that this seemed to be the day when he was going to confess to Kurenai, but he met Uchiha Itachi and Kisame. Tianyu glared at Asuma and retorted. What do you mean, Asuma-sensei? I risked my life to save Kurenai-sensei. It's impossible to do that without a loving heart that would die for the other person. He turned to look at the confused Hong and said shyly. Teacher Hong, I don't need you to be a cow or a horse in the next life, just commit yourself to me in this life. Tianyu's words made everyone present's eyes jump. Is this guy teasing Hong? Uchiha Itachi, as a genius, was the first to come to his senses. He was here to tell Danzo that he was still alive. He couldn't wait too long. Otherwise, even if he and Kisame had cage-level strength, they wouldn't be able to leave. Itachi gave a flying kick with an expressionless face, preparing to kick this reckless genin aside. A group of elite jonin and cage-level battles, what do you, a genin, want to do to get involved? However, Tianyu screamed strangely, threw Hong Pu to the ground and shouted. Teacher Hong, be careful. Summoning technique. With a bang, white mist surged, blocking Itachi's sight. Summoning technique. Itachi frowned. This is a rare advanced ninjutsu in the ninjutsu sequence of the ninja world. Even the most rubbish summoningmon is worth as much as an A-level ninjutsu scroll. Kakashi was speechless. Although he did not participate in the battle in the Death Forest, he still had a certain understanding of Tianyu's strength. Even though Tianyu said he was a summoner with little fighting ability, he didn't think the opponent was that weak in terms of physical skills. Kakashi is determined. This Dogecoin is definitely taking advantage of Yuri Hong. And this is also true. Yuri Hong was a little confused throughout the whole process. He was a little anxious when the genjutsu was rebounded by Itachi's Sharingan. When he was about to forcefully release the genjutsu despite his injured meridians, the strange feeling from his butt helped him to release the genjutsu. Before he could see the person clearly, he was suddenly confessed loudly by the other party. Just when her mind went blank, she was knocked down again, a burst of white mist obscured her sight, and a soft kiss came on her lips. It wasn't until she felt something trying to get into her teeth that Hong suddenly woke up and pushed the figure away from her. Tianyu licked his lips with some unfinished thoughts. MD, the smoke duration of this summoning technique is too short. Next time I will try smoke bombs. No, the smoke bombs are a bit choking, so I might as well just use the drug. Tianyu stood up and patted the soil as if nothing had happened, as if he was really just a graceful gentleman who had been ordered to do something in danger. Only Itachi and Kakashi, who had opened the Sharingan, looked at Tianyu with pained faces. They could clearly see the movements under the summoning technique. Kakashi looked at Asuma, who didn't seem to notice calmly. He now only feels that the other person's head can already support a nest of grass and mud horses. Oh, is this Dewey's female ninja? Can I try it too? An excited shout interrupted the awkward atmosphere. Everyone turned towards the place where the smoke dispersed. 10 old bald whitebeards wearing turtle shells and canes and wearing sunglasses were looking at Tianyu and Yuri Hong with excitement on their faces. Tianyu hurriedly stood in front of Hong and waved his hand to the old man. Gungungan, this is what I fell in love with first. Don't you have Lan Chi? But I will take you to meet a person of the same mind right away. You will definitely have something in common by then. Seeing the lewd expressions of the two people, the original tense atmosphere between Kakashi and Itachi became even more extinguished. Summoning a turtle. No, a person carrying a turtle shell. Itachi frowned and looked at Kamisenin, and his intuition told him that the old man in front of him didn't seem to be easy to mess with. That's right, the old man in front of you is the Kamisenin of the Dragon Ball world. In the Chunin exam, Naruto and Sasuke unfolded their curse seals, and the 4th and 5th light spots appeared at the same time. This also made Tianyu realize that he was not the light point opened by the upgraded summoning technique. Instead, the light point appeared, causing the summoning technique to be upgraded. The two statements seem to be the same, but in fact they are very different. The simplest way to put it is, originally, Tianyu thought that the race summoned in each world could only be the summoning beast contract that turned on the light point. In fact, every contract signed by Tianyu can be applied to different worlds. For example, the turtle immortal in front of me. Open black lens bracket summoning beast. Turtle Senin close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket strength. Cage level close black lens bracket. Ability. Turtle Senryu. Secret skill. Turtle style Qigong. Family. Turtle immortal school. Tianyu asked Shadow Clone to try to summon many summoning beasts signed by the ninja world in the Dragon Ball world. He successfully summoned the ninja dog, ninja bird, and monkey demon. Then he tried to transmit the ideas of these different contracts of the same age to InuYasha's world. Then, he summoned all the harpies and monkey monsters except InuYasha's family. Although these monsters were not under control, they wanted to eat him as soon as they saw him. In the end, Tianyu smoothly merged them into the Jade of 4 souls. But this made Tianyu successfully realize, my own plugin does not only summon one summoning beast family in a world. Instead, each contract can summon a race in a point of light. So Tianyu found Might Guy and paid herself to sign a contract on his summoning scroll. Then when using the summoning technique, the summoned energy was transferred to the fourth vortex instead of the newly appearing fifth point of light. And the result was just as Tianyu expected. He successfully used the new summoning contract to summon Kame Sennin from the Dragon Ball world. This also means that every time you sign a contract of the same age, it is equivalent to establishing a new channel in a point of light. He doubted that with his current chakra, he could use ninja dogs and monkey demons to summon Akainu and Kizaru in the pirate world, and even contract summon them. Considering the issue of position and strength, Tianyu did not try further. But this time he planned to get Kame Sennin out and let him personally help him practice physical skills. Kame Sennin turned to look at Itachi and Kisame. Are you fighting? Tianyu complained with a sigh on his face. Hey, don't mention it. Someone bullied me, your disciple. If I hadn't been a disciple, I would have been beaten by him. Turtle Immortal looked at Tianyu possessed by the drama spirit with black lines on his head. If he hadn't seen the group of Shadow Clone in the Dragon Ball world, he would really believe it. Itachi shouted quickly at this time. Kisame, it's time to go. His hand slipped down, and the ultimate shuriken instantly shot out towards Kame Sennin. At the same time, several rhinestones drilled towards Kame Sennin in the river next to him. Kakashi's expression changed. It was so fast, I didn't even see it. Only those who have watched the original plot and have awakened observation Haki's Tianyu made crazy complaints. This asterisk is a ball of seal. This is Muji ninjutsu, okay. A genius is a genius. Although the body is weak, the mental energy is strong. It is easy to control the flow of chakra in the body with thoughts. Kame Sennin's eyes lit up when he saw the approaching water style. As this ninjutsu, it's quite interesting, but what about the seduction technique? I want to see it. As Turtle Immortal spoke, the crutch in his hand did not stop. With a wave of his hand, all water styles were instantly shattered. Turtle Immortal smacked his lips, his stooped body looking extremely thin. The power is average. Kakashi and Asuma looked at the guy who was smashing the ninjutsu with his bare hands in confusion, and unconsciously thought of a green watermelon rind-chasing youth. Kisami's small eyes were wide open, staring at Kame Sennin's hunched-over look with a blank look on his face. Sudden, Kame Sennin moved flexibly and turned somersaults towards Itachi. Itachi frowned and instantly took out a kunai to tense up his mind. Kisame looked at Kame Sennin, who was carrying a turtle shell and attacking flexibly, and complained crazily. Hey, what's going on with this old man's movements? Is there such a flexible old man? He obviously fell down just now when the wind blew. However, Itachi's expression was much more solemn than Kisami's. With his observation eye, he could clearly see that Kame Immortal's body, which was like a dead tree, was constantly expanding. And the power he faced was also growing. Bang! Weasel was kicked violently and fell into the river. There was a muffled bang. The turtle shell weighing 80 kilograms fell on the ground and made a small crater. Kakashi, Kisame and others looked at Kame Sennin's greatly changed appearance with confused expressions. Except for his shiny head and gray beard, he still looked like the thin, hunchbacked old man with weak limbs. The body that was taller than Itachi and the muscles that were more knotted than Kisame made Kakashi and the others swallow their saliva. Kakashi complained wildly in his heart. What the hell is this? It was created using Guy's ninja turtle summoning. Why is Tianyu's summoning technique getting more and more outrageous? The ferret crawled out of the water in embarrassment. He watched with pain as the old man's muscles twitched in a muscular pose on the river bank, ogling Hong. He figured it out. The difference in physical strength between the two is simply worlds apart. He stood up and spit out a huge fireball towards Kame Immortal. This power has already matched the scale of Shippuden greeting Kakashi. As this ninjutsu, Turtle Immortal's eyes lit up. Although in his opinion this move is not as straightforward as Qigong Wave, this method of turning Qi into flames is very interesting. As a martial artist, he is still very interested in this new school. Turtle Immortal stretched out a hand. Blue energy gathered in his right hand, and a small wave of light rushed out towards the huge fireball. Asuma frowned and asked Kakashi. What kind of move is this? Do you want to help me? In the ninja world, apart from the blood inheritance limit, the comparison between ninjutsu is attribute restraint. Ninjutsu with the same attributes simply cancel each other out. No matter who it is, no matter how fancy the ninjutsu used, it is essentially an attack using chakra, and it only needs to be offset by the same amount of chakra. This is how a class's water style offsets a Madara's fire style. As long as the attributes are not restrained, as long as it is not a qualitative change of chakra-like blood succession limit. Ninjutsu battles are always as simple as subtraction. In the eyes of civilian ninjas like Asuma who do not have Sharingan and sensory ninjutsu. Please give me flowers. Kamisenin uses the water style, while Uchiha Itachi uses the fire style. Between the big fire style and the small water style, anyone with a discerning eye can tell who loses the water and wins. That's why Asuma asked Kakashi if he wanted to help. Although he was very angry that Tianyu pointed out his goddess's oil, as an excellent heir to the will of fire, he would not neglect the overall situation because of such a thing. After all, the other party was also his helper. However, Kakashi shook his head in shock. Itachi. Lost. Ha! Before Kakashi could explain, the seemingly pitiful Qigong wave was instantly submerged into the huge fireball. The fireball exploded instantly like an inflated balloon, and the flames that the Qigong wave passed through directly hit Uchiha Itachi's body. There was a loud bang. There was a violent explosion where Weasel was, and the water in the river caused an artificial rainfall. Kisami's expression changed drastically. Mr. Itachi. Walk. Itachi's shocked voice came from the smoke of the explosion. Kisame didn't hesitate at all and left Asuma alone. Stop. Asuma hurriedly tried to chase the enemy, but was stopped by Kakashi. Kakashi shook his head. The Hokage is undecided now, so don't confront the enemy casually. He knew Itachi's identity, and he didn't really want to stop him. He just cooperated. Who knows if Itachi was here to report on his duties. Asuma fell silent after hearing this. He took out a cigarette and lit it. Kakashi's words reminded him of his dead father again. He has always been rebellious and did not want to hear others say that he was the son of the third Hokage, so he took the initiative to go to the daimyo to protect the 12 ninjas. However, when the third generation really sacrificed, he missed the third generation very much. Asterisk 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 asterisk. He had no idea that his path had been guided by the third generation. Originally, Shinosuke was immortal and had no use for Asuma, but as a result, the third generation was gone without even having time to explain the aftermath. Tianyu sometimes wonders if this is what he planned. Asuma, who is full of the will of fire, is not a threat to the ninjas, but a very useful tool. In this way, no one will cause trouble to Asuma and the Sarutobi clan even if he dies. Tianyu sighed in his heart as he felt Itachi and Kisame running away like crazy. He is also a strong player. Even Itachi, who plays high-end games in the later stages, can only end up running away in embarrassment in front of him. By the way, it was a shadow clone that Itachi exploded just now, right? It was so fast that he didn't even use Mangekyo. He also wanted to see the resistance of Kame Senryu against Tsukuyomi. Tianyu feels that there is a high probability that the egg is of no use. The spiritual will is too different. By the way, the turtle immortal has lived for more than 300 years at this time, right? If you really can live, you are worthy of being a cultivator. Kakashi and Asuma walked up to Tianyu. Kakashi asked Tianyu strangely. Why did you come out? Aren't you in the hospital? Tianyu glanced at Hong Blind and said. I sensed that my goddess was in danger, so I rushed over with a clear heart. Asuma's face suddenly turned green again. She is your teacher. Don't talk nonsense. Tianyu looked at Asuma with contempt. She is Hinata's teacher. What does it have to do with me, and age is not a barrier to love. Tianyu pointed at the turtle immortal who kept stealing glances at Hong and said with a smile. Look at him, he has lived for more than 300 years. Doesn't he also like teacher Hong differently? Turtle immortal hurriedly coughed twice. Nonsense. How could I, the mighty Kame Sennin, be such a lustful person like you? Limited illustrated edition of Kissing Heaven, do you want it? Kamasenin. Kakashi. Yes. Yes. Give it to me. Asuma. Red. Tianyu looked at Asuma who still wanted to speak and smiled. Besides, love is blind. There is a kind of love called letting go, giving up for love, ahem. I'm sorry, I'm used to singing, it's for love, you have to learn to perfect it, and you have to respect teacher Hong's own ideas. Everyone is a suitor. I have never slandered you. You are so petty. Asuma blushed and wanted to refute what Tianyu said, but he felt that what Tianyu said was quite reasonable. He looked at Hong, who was still blushing because of Tianyu's shameless sudden attack. Suddenly Asuma's heart was filled with despair. Does Hong really like younger people? Tianyu looked at Asuma who had been reduced to a spare tire and laughed in his heart. Isn't it just like Deng Xiaoshan who is chasing girls? As long as you are thick-skinned enough, there is no corner that cannot be poached. In the previous life, Tianyu dated a girl, but if he couldn't kiss her twice, he would just give up. Waiting for you to be such a loser who doesn't even dare to confess your love, waiting for you to confirm the relationship, my daughter will be born in the future. Tianyu smiled and summoned a password box from the seal scroll. He spoke to Hong affectionately. In the past, I was not brave enough and was unwilling to let you suffer criticism. Now when I see you in danger, I suddenly realize that people should cherish the present. I am not prepared to stand up bravely for the first time. This is 50 million in cash, and the password is your birthday, just think of it as a token of love from me. Chapter 63 Really, I will pay you to fight pirates, 3 consecutive updates. Advertise here. Kakashi and Asuma looked at the huge lockbox covered with black lines. A strong feeling of sadness arose in their hearts. Not only have gifts been prepared, but birthdays have also been investigated. This guy has no chance of winning except for his age. Fortunately, Hong was not that superficial woman. She looked at the black lockbox and hurriedly tried to shirk it. But Tianyu didn't give her any chance to refuse. He thrust the box into her hand and disappeared. Hong had a big mouth and was dumbfounded at the huge sum of money, which was comparable to 50s level missions. Asuma looked at the box with a look of sorrow and anger. Damn it, even if the Sarutobi clan is sold, they may not be able to get so much money. Tianyu left with a crooked smile. So what if I have no emotional foundation? I will be rich and rich. If he really couldn't reveal that he held the secret of eternal youth, he didn't believe that a woman could handle it. There is a saying among capitalists that so-called loyalty is nothing more than insufficient bargaining chips for betrayal. And the chips are not just money. He is handsome, young, rich, powerful, and can help her stay young forever. And what does Asuma have now? Apart from being a classmate, he has nothing. He used to have a village chief father, but now the village chief father is gone. Once this naked comparison comes out, anyone who is not a fool will know how to choose. Even if Hong can't accept the teacher-student relationship for a while, she must think about Tianyu as long as she takes the money. After all, this is money, not a gift, and the gift can be thrown away. Even if she doesn't want it, she can't throw away such a huge sum of money, and she still has to find a way to return it to Tianyu. If it was lost, she couldn't afford to pay for it. When the time comes to repay the money, you push me and I drag you, and the relationship becomes familiar after a while, and the rest is just a matter of course. I hope Sarutobi Asuma, a chain-smoking virgin who is even embarrassed to go public, will take his head as a competitor. Tianyu hummed a little tune and came to a hot spring, the meeting point, 907, on the roof next to it. Turtle Immortal once again regained his old arms and legs as skinny as firewood and followed Tianyu. At this time, a white-haired LSP was lying on the edge of the building staring at the open-air female hot spring opposite with binoculars. And in just 1 second, next to him was an old man also holding binoculars. Jiraiya. Hey, this is on point. Turtle Sennin. I like the one with big breasts. Jiraiya. You will be found dead. The heroes have the same idea. Jiraiya. WC, who are you? He jumped up suddenly and exclaimed. All the ladies taking a shower below saw these two peeping LSPs. Ah, there's a pervert. Someone's coming. After a moment of uproar, Jiraiya, Kame-sen and Tianyu ran to the door of Konoha village. Tianyu rolled his eyes speechlessly and complained in his heart. That means Tsunade is not in the village, otherwise either one of them would be beaten by Tsunade. Later, Tianyu resealed the military telescope bought from InuYasha's world. Jiraiya looked at the old man and the young man in front of him. His eyelids twitched when he looked at Kame Immortal, and the warning in his heart was frantically prompting. As a practitioner of immortal arts, although his talent is not very good, he still has the ability to sense. Especially the Kame Sennin on the opposite side makes him feel like facing Toad Sage, or more dangerous than Toad Sage. You are Tianyu. I was called by you to assist in the mission. Jiraiya's eyes widened. Are you Tianyu? He looked at the turtle immortal beside him and asked, who is this? Tianyu. This is my summoning beast, from the turtle clan. Turtle Immortal smiled and gestured to Jiraiya, not paying attention to what Tianyu said about the turtle clan. Jiraiya looked at the big turtle shell on Kame Sennin's back with black lines on his head and was speechless. Damn turtle tribe, don't think I didn't see the rope on the turtle shell. He suddenly thought about the rumor those two immortals told him. If it were this old man, his teacher might really fall into his hands. But these have nothing to do with Jiraiya. Now that Sarutobi Hiruzen is dead, his bond with Konoha has become even weaker. If Tsunade doesn't agree to be a Hokage, he's going to retire completely and travel and write novels. Jiraiya didn't say much. He nodded and registered the mission at the entrance of the village, and then took Tianyu to the casino to find Tsunade, preparing to eat, drink and have sex at public expense. And on the other side, Itachi was pale and breathing heavily. Kisame on the side asked Itachi curiously. That's the Jiraiya you're afraid of. He's really powerful, but I don't understand what ninjutsu he uses. Itachi's face looked a little pale. He straightened up and shook his head with confusion on his face. No Jiraiya, let's go and report to the leader first. We can't take down Nine Tails for the time being. Kisame grinned and nodded. He knew the purpose of Itachi's coming, and so did Obito. The two of them were just going through the motions. They didn't expect Itachi to really capture Nine Tails. Okay Mr. Itachi, but the leader asked us to search the Fire Country to see if there is any trace of Shukaku. Although it stands to reason that Shukaku should be in the Wind Country, there is also a mission to do. Kisame kept chattering to Itachi. Itachi nodded like a mute, only when he looked in the direction of Konoha, his heart was filled with worry. Third generation, how did it die? Who killed it? Orochimaru. Thinking of the intelligence collected in the past few days, he couldn't help but worry about Sasuke. It's as uncomfortable as if you went undercover, and the only contact person who knew you were undercover died. But there's only so much he can do, even though he originally threatened Danzo to expose Konoha's secrets if he dared to let Sasuke get into trouble. But in fact, with his brainwashed personality, even if Sasuke died, he would only cry silently. The will of fire has already penetrated deep into his bones. Kisame chuckled and saw his own shadow in Itachi, but he had a younger brother and he didn't. Who? Itachi suddenly looked in a direction behind him. In the woods, Zuyi suddenly jumped out and squatted on the tree. Uchiha Itachi, dried persimmon Kisame. Moroha looked at Kisame and the two. Kisame stared curiously at the girl in front of him and asked strangely. Who are you? Why are you looking for us? Moroha chuckled and took out a summoning scroll from his clothes. With the injection of demonic power. With a bang, Tianyu's shadow clone appeared in front of Itachi and Kisame. Tianyu grinned and said, "You two run really fast." He threw a bag of gold coins at Zuya, who took it with bright eyes and said excitedly, "Your money is getting better and better. Call me next time you have such a job." After Zuya finished speaking, he smiled and returned to InuYasha's world with a bang. Itachi and Kisami's pupils narrowed. Summoning technique. "You're looking for us." The two of them stared at Tianyu cautiously, fearing that this guy might summon the old man. Tianyu spread his hands and said innocently, "I'm just a shadow clone. Don't get excited. I'm here to discuss business with you. Isn't your Akatsuki organization a mercenary organization?" The Akatsuki organization is no secret in the ninja world, and it is not unusual for Onoki to hire the Akatsuki organization to help fight Cloud Shinobi all year round. In the parallel world, Tsunade even paid money to directly let Akatsuki organize a group fight. So for these ninja villages, they don't want to provoke this organization with all S-class rebellious ninjas. Kisame looked at Tianyu curiously. "You want to hire us?" Tianyu chuckled and said, "Is there anything surprising? My family is considered an ordinary wealthy family. What's wrong with paying someone to do some tasks?" Kisame and Itachi looked at each other. "You need to contact our manager Bai about this matter. Of course Bai can also do it." The Akatsuki organization codenames are Zero, Green, White, Zu, Zan, Kong, South, North, San, and Yu. Among them, Shiro is Konan and Bai is Kakuzu. Konan is in charge of general coordination, and Kakuzu is in charge of finance. In recent years, the work done by the Akatsuki organization is similar to that of the Germa 66 family in the pirate world. They start small wars, monopolize war commissions from small countries at low prices, and then increase the scale of wars to break the ninja system of big countries, destroy the economy, monopolizing all wars. It's a pity that they can't do it with their current power. At best, they can help the 5 major ninja villages to fight for them. Of course, their ultimate goal is to collect 9 tailed beasts, make tailed beast weapons, and then use the tailed beast weapons to conquer the world. At least that's what Nagato thinks. So they naturally have no reason to refuse Tianyu's request. Only Itachi looked at Tianyu with a solemn expression. He is an undercover agent who cares about Konoha. A Konoha shinobi actually wants to hire an S-class rebel ninja organization like them. What is he planning to do? You must know that the Akatsuki organization at this time will only be hired when there is a war between big villages. Now that his boss is dead, he doesn't know who to contact even if he wants to pass information to Konoha. Now he has completely become a rebellious ninja. Tianyu used the summoning technique to summon a large box of Baileys. He threw it to Kisame, and the shining gold coins scattered on the floor. The world of pirates is just that good. There are a lot of gold reserves among thieves, and ordinary currencies are made of gold. Of course, the price is that this thing has depreciated greatly, and its purchasing power is far less than that in the ninja world. Such a box of gold coins can also buy an ordinary pirate ship, which is a complete waste for Tianyu. Only Kisami's eyes widened and he looked at Tianyu in confusion. "What do you mean?" Tianyu smiled crookedly. "Deposit." The two of them took a deep breath. This guy is not afraid of us taking the money and running away. We are rebels. When did our credibility become so high? And the money, not to mention the deposit, is enough to hire their entire organization for several missions. Kisame swallowed and said, "What kind of mission is it? Let me tell you in advance. We won't accept it for the time being, such as forcibly attacking the 5 major villages." Tianyu waved his hand. "How could it be possible? How could I do such an idiotic thing? If I'm not attacking the 5 major villages, I'm going to the beach to kill pirates to help me hold down the battle, and I'm assisting in killing pirates. You don't have to do it." Kisame and Itachi were stunned. Pirates are a very unpopular profession in the ninja world, so only a talent like Cardo can issue such a mission. Generally speaking, pirates are just a group of gangsters. Even if there are ninjas, they will never be able to reach Jonin, and it will be enough to survive as a B class. Although the charges of the Akatsuki organization are not expensive, and many ordinary tasks are even priced lower than those of the 5 major villages, they are all assassination missions that are difficult for the 5 major villages to accept. But even if it's cheap, you're not so extravagant as to spend money on them to fight pirates, right? And now the Akatsuki organization is quite famous. All of them were war missions, and they looked down upon trivial fights except for Kakuzu. But this is peacetime after all, and there are not so many wars to fight. If Tianyu offered such a large reward, the organization would definitely not refuse it. But it's just about fighting pirates. If it's not a scam, then this is simply a fool giving himself money. Tianyu looked at the two people who were suspicious and didn't explain. He chuckled and said, "That's what it is. Please report it to me and ask the person in charge to find me. As for my location, you should be able to find me, right? That's it. See you later." Bang. Tianyu's shadow clone turned into a cloud of smoke. Kisame looked at the gold coins left on the floor and blinked at Itachi and asked, "What should I do, Mr. Itachi?" Itachi was silent for a while. "Put it away and contact the leader. Although I don't believe that it's as simple as beating pirates, I still have to get involved if I want to find out Tianyu's conspiracy." Kisame grinned when he heard this and happily collected the gold coins. Although I am a rebellious ninja, I have been much happier since leaving Mist Shinobi, and I don't have to kill my teammates at every turn. He now wanted to see what the perfect future that Madara had described to him would look like, and whether the girl he wanted to ask him out for dinner would still be alive. The two put away the gold coins and quickly left the country of fire. With this box of gold coins and One Tail looking for a ball, One Tail is not resurrected in the land of fire anyway. Tianyu on the other side was stunned for a moment. Then the corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. I'm not lying, I'm just beating up pirates. Although there are a lot of pirates, he is indeed a pirate, right? How strong can Pain be? In the ninja world, he may not be considered a super shadow, but in the pirate world, he is much better than that trash Aramaki. If he kills the people in the white group, he will summon Shao to organize a group fight. He glanced ahead. The two LSPs were holding a roll of Playboy brought by Kame Sennin from the Dragon Ball world and laughing lewdly. Tianyu rolled his eyes and carried the turtle shell of an unknown species on his back, and began the arduous journey of body training. Meditation. Meditation. Become one with nature. Are you nature? Turtle Immortal hit Tianyu on the head with his crutch, and Tianyu's head inflated a big lump at a speed visible to the naked eye. Tianyu's mouth twitched, his expression twisted in pain. Damn it, this cheat is so F***king rubbish, why can't it be initiated directly? When did my rich second generation suffer like this? When he was a kid, he was afraid that girls would feed him with a spoon when he ate. But now he is about to be knocked dizzy by an LSP. Fortunately, Tianyu's body is very close to the so-called sage body at this time. 4.0 After the big bag swelled up, it quickly deflated like a balloon, restoring smooth and tender skin, and Tianyu's body's toughness also became slightly stronger. According to Turtle Immortal, he has passed the best age for cultivation. Moreover, Tianyu has lost his virginity and has a complicated mind. It is much more difficult to get started than Sun Wukong. Only by completely emptying yourself and integrating yourself with nature can you draw energy from nature to fill yourself. He needs to combine natural energy with physical energy and spiritual energy naturally, and no longer needs artificial control. Practicing Qi is like artificially establishing a meridians for natural energy circulation in the body. Let the natural energy no longer wash away the body and adapt to the natural energy. When the body no longer rejects natural energy, you will be considered a beginner. In fact, the same principle applies to ninjas refining the chakra in their bodies since childhood. An ordinary person is born without chakra in his body, only physical energy. As chakra is refined from an early age, the meridians in the human body will adapt to the flow of chakra. When the body automatically converts the original physical energy in the meridians into chakra, it is said to have reached the level of genin. The biggest difficulty now is that Tianyu's body has already adapted to chakra. Now he needs to replace chakra with Qi, which takes time for his body to adapt. Fortunately among misfortunes, Tianyu has been a poor talent since he was a child. Although the amount of chakra he can refine has skyrocketed recently, his body's adaptation to chakra is actually only to the level of genin, which is still the worst genin. Now, after nearly a month of hard work and the uninterrupted training experience of tens of thousands of shadow clone, Tianyu is only one step away from having complete meridians. Bang! The last shadow clone dissipates. As shadow clone's Qi training experience was synchronized into the main body's mind, the last bottleneck that troubled Tianyu suddenly exploded. Chapter 64. Is it reasonable to repay him with flesh and blood for gambling debts? Open black lens bracket 3 consecutive updates close black lens bracket. Advertise here. With a bang, the terrifying energy burst out from Tianyu's body. Oh, Tianyu transformed into an OO monster, excitedly feeling the pleasure caused by the qualitative change of energy in her body. This is what it feels like. Is this called explosive energy? There is no need to expend your mind to control the three powers into one, and you can naturally wash your body all the time. All chakra is converted into a higher level of magic, chakra, or Qi. This refreshing feeling is like the extreme comfort of sudden relief after constipation for a long time. Tianyu stretched out his hand and circulated the energy in his body in the palm of his hand in the Rasengan manner. A swish sound. A terrifying huge Rasengan was lifted above Tianyu's head. It's more like a vitality bomb than a Rasengan. Tianyu blinked. Instinctively, he controlled the huge Rasengan and threw it out. A whooshing sound. Rasengan landed directly on the high mountain in the distance. Exclamation mark. A huge mushroom cloud appeared, and a big crater was instantly created on the top of the hill. Jiraiya's mouth opened in shock. Holy shit, that's a Rasengan. Even TM 4th generation couldn't figure out a way to throw Rasengan out, but this guy in front of him actually succeeded. The key is what the hell is this power? This is already comparable to the tailed beast bomb. Tianyu felt the Qi in his body thoughtfully. He's the one who absorbed the tailed beast, so it's not like he can't use the tailed beast bomb. This kind of Rasengan, which was performed using Qi, gave him an extremely familiar feeling. This sense of familiarity comes from the tailed beast bomb. Tailed beast bomb converts chakra into yin and yang attributes, and then mixes and compresses it into an ultra-high density ball with a ratio of 28. The vitality bomb, that Tianyu released just now absorbs more natural energy based on the magic Rasengan, so that his own chakra and natural energy form an energy ball at a ratio of 28 and throw it out. In the 4 battles of the ninja world, when the 4 shadows fight against 6 paths Obito and 6 paths Madara, only Senjutsu and 6 paths Ninjutsu can break the truth-seeking ball's defense. So Senjutsu should be on the same level as 6 paths Ninjutsu. The magic chakra has more natural energy than the ordinary chakra. This means that natural energy should actually be at the same level as chakra, which is a yin and yang attribute. Rasengan was originally developed by Namikaze Minato based on the principle of Tailed Beast Bomb. It is a low-end version of Tailed Beast Bomb. Therefore, theoretically, Sage Art Big Ball Rasengan and Tailed Beast Bomb should belong to the same level of ninjutsu. But in fact, not to mention Sage Art Big Ball Rasengan, even the power of the Sage Art Wind Style Spiral Shuriken and the Tailed Beast Bomb are vastly different. Finally, a conclusion can be drawn. The Sage Art of the 3 Holy Lands is far inferior to the Yin-Yang escape system of the Otsutsuki clan. This may be the fundamental reason why Gamamaru came to Sage of 6 Paths to drive a wedge between him and him. Because the skills he cultivates are no better than others, so he can't beat them. But the Kame Senryu that Tianyu learned today gave him a completely different feeling. It also uses natural energy. He is not at the same level as these toads, snakes, and the celestial arts developed by Katsuyu. Kamezen Ryu truly develops natural energy to the ultimate level. Therefore, this energy can be easily used in conjunction with the natural energy of the outside world to create an energy ball comparable to the Tailed Beast Bomb. The most important thing is that the release of Tailed Beast Bomb requires all of its own chakra to undergo yin and yang escape nature transformation and then fuse. Tianyu's Qigong wave only consumes 20% of his own energy, and the remaining 80% of the energy comes from the ubiquitous natural energy emperor. In this way, Tianyu can use the original 10,000 calories as 50,000 calories. Coupled with the power comparable to the 6 paths ninjutsu yin-yang release, the utilization rate of this energy is even x10. 10,000 calories of energy has the effect of using 500,000 calories. Tianyu's scalp is numb. A feeling of invincibility in the world rushed straight to Tianlinggai. A sound. Tianyu slapped himself. This is the inner demon, Ala Amentofo. The combat power of 500,000 calories may not be able to break through 1,000 in the Dragon Ball world, and it cannot float. Tianyu quickly suppressed his excitement. You can no longer use Kakashi as a unit of measurement in the future, because it is easy for you to misestimate your combat effectiveness if it is weak. The current self has a high probability of having twice the fighting power of the future Sun Wukong when he first became an adult, which is more than 800 fighting power. If you learn another tenfold Kaioken, it shouldn't be a big problem to defeat 6 paths Madara directly. Wait, tenfold Kaio Fist. Tianyu suddenly thought of a forbidden technique in the ninja world. Damn it, 8 inner gates is just as effective as Kaioken. Even the TM effects and sequelae are exactly the same. Tianyu's eyelids twitched wildly. In the Meridian system, there are 8 gates that inhibit and control the energy in the body. 8 gate will set a limit on the amount of chakra in the body to prevent powerful energy from causing damage to the body's meridians. The 8 inner gates is a technique that forces chakra to exceed this limit, thereby eliciting strength that is dozens of times stronger than its original strength. While gaining strength, the caster himself will be damaged. And Kaio Fist. It's a technique created by the North Kaio King. It is also a move that can increase one's combat effectiveness several times or even dozens of times in a short period of time. Likewise, through practice, one can continuously increase the endurance multiplier, but it places a heavy burden on the body. Likewise, if it exceeds what your body can bear, your body will collapse. Also when used, red blood will burst out all over the body. Okay, let's be honest, 8 inner gates and Kaio Fist are exactly the same techniques. Both of them use some kind of training to release the 8 gate limiter in the body. Tianyu smacked his lips. Turning to Jiraiya, he asked. Do you know 8 inner gates? Jiraiya, who was originally shocked by Tianyu, frowned. Why are you learning that thing? It's forbidden technique. Tianyu sighed with disgust. You don't know anything, and you still claim to be an immortal, bah. 8 inner gates. Kaio Fist. Don't say too much. Even if you only open it to 10 times the Kaioken level, your own energy will instantly soar to more than 8,000. This is already comparable to the fighting power of the normal Sun Wukong during the advent of Vegeta. If calculated according to this increase, if he opens the door to death and his combat power increases dozens of times, even if Vegeta comes, he still won't be able to call him daddy. You must know that Sun Wukong, who had 8,000 combat power at that time, could already overwhelm Vegeta by firing the Kaio Fist 3 times. Wouldn't it be easy to open 30 times more than 800? Of course, the cost may be quite heavy and the ball may die easily. But he, a weak native of the planet, could already fight to the death to replace Vegeta. This guy is directly ahead of Sun Wukong by more than 10 years. It's a pity that the fairy beans in Katamortal's place were eaten by Sun Wukong. Otherwise, I can drive 8 gate and F*K whoever I want. With a combat power of nearly 30,000, no one in the ninja world dared to say a word, let alone walking sideways or crawling. Tianyu's eyes flashed with fire. He now desperately wants to return to Konoha and learn the 8 inner gates. But according to the introduction in the formula book, because everyone's body has 8 gates. So as long as you exercise enough to withstand the load of opening the 8th gate, anyone can open the 8th gate. So he still needs to take advantage of this time to improve his physical fitness. Return of life plus Kamizen Ryu body refining technique, coupled with Kamizen's personal guidance. I will definitely have a period of rapid growth in physical skills. Tianyu was excited and distributed tens of thousands of shadow clone again. Although physical training is good, martial arts experience cannot be left behind. With this kind of training method that is not afraid of death, he does not believe that anyone can surpass him in combat experience. Another month passed quickly. Kame-sen and Jiraiya were drinking sake obscenely in a bar. The two of them had a great time with a young wandering girl in their hand. And in the dead woods outside Fangshi, Tianyu sat cross-legged, floating in the air with his eyes closed. The invisible energy continued to surround his body, causing gusts of breeze to scatter the leaves in all directions. Sudden. Tianyu opened his eyes suddenly and shouted, "Ha!" The terrifying energy instantly erupted in his body. The muscles that could only be considered well defined in the past suddenly swelled to an extremely terrifying level. His hands were folded into the shape of a calyx behind his back, and blue light waves instantly filled the entire palm of his hand. The strong wind was raging around his body, and the terrifying air pressure directly caused the surrounding land and trees to burst instantly. Ha! Beautiful! Ha! Beautiful! Ha! As Tianyu shouted loudly. The huge blue turtle-style qigong instantly reached the moon in the sky. The blue qigong wave hit the moon looming in the sky like a sharp arrow. A silent explosion exploded across the moon. A huge crater appeared on the surface of the moon. Turtle Senryu Max Power Turtle-style qigong. When Goku participated in the martial arts competition for the first time, Kame-sen transformed into a dragon and used this move to blow up the moon. But now Tianyu's chi is obviously nearly 10 times more powerful than Turtle Immortal. However, the released turtle-style qigong still could not completely destroy the moon. Although the ninja world is small, the moon is really big. If you want to smash a moon of this size into pieces, you should have at least 8,000 combat power. Tianyu might be able to do it by opening the death door and blasting with max power. If he developed a high-intensity compression attack like Krillin's Chi Yuan Slash, he could cut the moon in half. Wait, Yuan Pei. Tianyu thought of a certain blind Otsutsuki on the moon. Tianyu dispersed the energy in his body. A soreness shot through his body. The maximum power of Kamizen Ryu is achieved by strengthening the muscles of the whole body by gathering energy, thereby achieving a state of enlargement. The combat effectiveness in this state will be greatly improved, but energy consumption will be accelerated. After Tianyu learned it, he discovered that this form actually uses energy gathering to temporarily open 4-8 gates so that he can get a temporary buff bonus. Different paths lead to the same destination. Tianyu shook his head. The physical energy in the third vortex quickly repaired the damage to the body. He found that with the third vortex, the side effects he had after using some forbidden technique could basically be ignored. As long as the energy in the third vortex is not exhausted, you can heal infinitely. It's just that this healing speed seems to be worse than 6 Paths level. 6 Paths Madara fully recovered within a few seconds after being kicked by Guy, losing half of her body, while Tianyu has not yet reached the level of rebirth after a severed limb. But Tianyu. There is good news to confirm. That is the 6 Paths level of the ninja world. Although it is the same as Kaio in terms of power level, it should be far behind in terms of combat effectiveness. As his combat effectiveness steadily improves, he felt that the gap between him and the 6 Paths class was getting smaller and smaller. Especially after switching to Kame-sen Ryu, he directly entered the threshold of Super Shadow. Not the rookie Super Shadows like the 4 Emperors and 3 Admirals in the pirate world. But Senju Hashirama and Madara are the only 2 Super Shadows in the entire ninja world. Tell him directly that there should be no pressure on him now to imitate Madara and challenge the 5 Shadows. The qualitative change in energy brought about by the Turtle Senryu caused a surge in combat power that was even more pervert than he expected. Tianyu closed his eyes. The silent energy instantly swept across the entire kingdom of waves. In just a moment, he found Jiraiya, who was looking for flowers, and Tsunade, who was acting as a fat sheep in a casino. Tisk, what a strong yang escape chakra. Tsunade is unable to learn the Shigen Forest Immortal technique because he is yin, so he uses a trick like 100 Healings Mark to recreate the immortal body. He is also a genius. At this time, Tianyu's achievements in martial arts are no longer the novice he was 2 months ago. Cheating tens of thousands of shadow clone to increase his skills and experience has made his current martial arts level no less than that of Kame-sen. The rest needs Tianyu to study on his own like Sun Wukong, or wait for Kakarot to develop subsequent routes through repeated life and death battles. What? Why not Tianyu sharpening? Just kidding. Gambling is something that only protagonists in novels do, and they are usually done by gamblers who are desperate for money. As for Tianyu, who has cheats, cultivation resources, and knowledge of the cultivation plan, he must be stupid to go and practice in person through life and death crises. Even Sun Wukong died more than once, but he didn't think that he had a tougher fate than Sun Wukong. But in the ninja world, you can be a little bold. Tianyu put on a classic Kame-sen style martial arts uniform to cover up his streamlined muscles. Then he flew into the sky and exploded with energy. He flew directly towards Duanja Street, which is known as the whole town as a casino. Wherever Tianyu passed, there was a roaring sonic boom, and the white shock wave was pushed away by Tianyu's energy. The turtle immortal in the fence looked up and smacked his lips in the direction Tianyu flew away. The qualifications of my cheap apprentice are really terrifying. Uncle, drink quickly. Hey, here we come. Awesomeness is good, awesomeness can cause trouble. Compared with Clint sending a magazine, my apprentice is much better. Among casinos, Tsunade slapped the gaming table with an angry look on his face. Come again. I don't believe it. 456 big. Thank you for your patronage. Seeing that his last bargaining chip was taken away by the opponent again, Tsunade shouted excitedly with red eyes. Loan. I want to borrow money. Unexpectedly, the merchant responsible for loan sharking in the casino laughed. Sorry, our casino does not provide loan business, you should be ready next time. Who doesn't know that the legendary fat sheep will lose in gambling, so only a fool would lend it to her. Behind him, Shizune was holding Dodo with a look of despair on his face, but he was gone again. That's a lot of money. All the money Tsunade defrauded yesterday with fake Jinshan news is gone. Oh, Tsunade glared at the casino owner in displeasure. She angrily took back her empty suitcase and prepared to find a place to fool the next loan shark. Suddenly a hand reached out and handed over a suitcase. I'll lend it to you, but I have to sign a contract and pay interest. Tsunade's eyes shone brightly, and he quickly signed his name on the contract without even looking at anyone, then picked up the box and continued fighting. The gamblers in the circle looked at Tianyu as if he were a fool. Who in the gambling circle doesn't know that the legendary fat sheep can always be borrowed and never returned? There is actually a fool who actively lends money to Tsunade. Everyone looked at Tianyu with gloating expressions, waiting for this fool to lose everything. Shizune looked at Tianyu's handsome appearance and solid muscles and made up his mind. Isn't this handsome guy expecting violence to collect money? I'm afraid he doesn't know Tsunade-sama's identity. He is really unlucky to meet Tsunade-sama. The physical energy that Tianyu is constantly purifying makes his body grow rapidly like bamboo shoots after rain. Now his physical age has grown rapidly and reached its peak in his 20s. And as long as the golden elixir is immortal, his physical age will remain at this age. So now Shizune has no idea that the young man in front of him is just a boy who just graduated from ninja school. Tianyu looked at Tsunade, who was losing more and more, with a smirk on his lips. With the words, repaying gambling debts with flesh, I thought about what kind of posture I should help Tsunade unlock. Chapter 65. You are in debt and still want to run away. Pressure Tsunade. Open black lens bracket 3 consecutive updates close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Oh, Tsunade slammed the table, no more gambling. She has already lost nearly 1 billion taels here. Even if Tianyu doesn't care at all, she is already embarrassed. This made her feel as guilty as catching a sheep plucking its wool. Thank you for your patronage. The casino owner's eyes shone, and the look he looked at Tianyu became like Tsunade's. This is simply the god of wealth who is here to give away money. Tsunade frowned and glanced at Tianyu, then gave Shizune a wink. Let's go Shizune, let's continue fighting next time. Shizune glanced at Tianyu cautiously. Oh, she moved behind Tsunade like a little girl who had done something bad, and walked out step by step. Tianyu chuckled, and Tiantian caught up with him. Shizune is so smart that he walks a little faster. Tsunade left the casino and walked straight towards the remote suburbs of the city. Shizune and Tianyu followed closely behind him. The atmosphere in the air was obviously tense. Soon the three of them came to an empty, deserted place. Tsunade turned to Tianyu and sneered. Is it time to tell you your purpose now? Tianyu chuckled. Purpose, what purpose? Tsunade snorted disdainfully and said. Without a purpose, would you lend me money over and over again? Are you a fool, or do you just burn too much money? Tianyu summoned several large boxes of banknotes again with an innocent look on his face and said innocently, that little money is really not much. Tsunade. Shizune. Damn, this guy doesn't play according to the rules. Is it really just because of the extra money? Tsunade's expression was uncertain. Looking at the 2 boxes of green banknotes, a smile like a flower suddenly bloomed. Oh, isn't this a joke to you, young master? How about we go back and play a few more tricks? I feel like my luck is about to change. Shizune's eyes widened with a look of shock on his face. Tsunade-sama. Tsunade glared at her and whispered. Shut up, this is an easy target that I encountered with great difficulty. Do you know how difficult it is to make some money now? It's even harder to meet a rich enemy. I dare say this is definitely the case. Who is the son of a wealthy businessman who doesn't know the world and comes out to experience life? This kind of person is the most generous. Shizune twitched the corners of his lips. You are a rich person. Second generation is also very unlucky when it comes to you. Tianyu looked embarrassed and said. It's not impossible to borrow more, but do I have to pay the interest first? Interest? It's easy to negotiate. You lend me the money first, and I'll pay you back the interest, and then use the rest to repay the capital. Tsunade slapped his forehead and said as if he was very smart. Tianyu, on the other hand, calmly took out the loan contract and pointed to one of the clauses and said solemnly, as a ninja, integrity is the most important thing. We agreed that the interest will not be settled in money, and the gambling debt will be paid with flesh. When it is over, after that, the interest is paid first. Tsunade, Shizune. The two looked at the contract in confusion, and then took a breath at the same time. Damn it, no wonder he is so willing to spend money, is he attracted to Tsunade-sama? The two looked at each other. Tsunade coughed dryly and felt a little shy when looking at Tianyu's hot eyes. Well, I'm not ready yet. The atmosphere is not right. How about we find a place to exchange feelings first? Shizune. Shizune looked at his boss in confusion. Are you such a woman? Tsunade glared at her, then pursed her lips slightly. Shizune instantly understood what Tsunade meant. Get out of the way first, then run away. Tsunade has done this operation countless times, and Shizune has long been familiar with it. Ah, yes, that's right, even if you are thinking about it, where is it in such a wilderness? Tsunade-sama, I remember that we bowed and forgot to store it. How about we go back and prepare it first, and then find a place to meet? Quote. Tsunade. Ah, yes, yes. Tianyu chuckled. He took out a seal scroll and pressed it on the ground. Bang. A huge luxury villa was built by Tianyu summoning. This time summoning Kamisenin forgot to ask him to bring some universal capsules from Bulma Company. The capsules developed there have exactly the same principle as the seal scroll, but it is obvious that the other party's universal capsules are more convenient. It was not until the scientific ninja tools of the Boruto-den era that the sealing scroll barely reached that level of accuracy. Tianyu bowed down as a gentleman and gestured. Tsunade looked at the huge house in front of him with a constipated expression. She took a deep breath and said helplessly, well, let me tell you the truth. In fact, I am already 50 years old and I am an old aunt. The two of us are not suitable for each other. Tianyu nodded lightly. It doesn't matter, I'm 42. The total memory of the two lives is indeed 40 years, and now the body has completely matured, and the age of the soul is Tianyu's real age. The difference between the two is only 10 years. Besides, with Tsunade's capital, is she called an old aunt, or is she called an old baby? He will be a man who wants to live forever in the future. If he can't even accept a 50-year-old G-cup, how can he flirt with those 1,000-year-old babies in the Shinigami world? Tsunade looked at Tianyu with pain. She can be sure that the guy in front of her is definitely not 40. Seeing good things in life and trying to persuade them doesn't work. Tsunade snorted and punched the ground. With a bang, a huge pit suddenly appeared on the ground. Boy, I advise you not to be ungrateful. Tianyu raised his eyebrows and stepped lightly on the ground. Exclamation mark. A huge roar sounded. The ground beneath Tianyu's feet was instantly trampled into a long, narrow and deep crack. Shizune looked at Tianyu with his mouth wide open. Damn it, that's Tsunade-sama, one of the legendary Sannin. You actually lost in a contest of strength. She hurriedly pulled out Shinbin and assumed a fighting stance. However, in the blink of an eye, Tianyu disappeared in front of her. Where did it go? Shizune looked around nervously. A palm slapped on his shoulder, pressing him down like a mountain. Tianyu's smiling voice came from behind Shizune. Although I don't mind being with the bed-warming maid, the first time is still for your master. Shizune was startled, and cold sweat broke out all over his body. She wanted to leave in an instant, but Tianyu's arms held her in place like iron hoops. Tsunade's face changed drastically. Shizune. She looked at Tianyu in shock and asked in a solemn tone, who are you? Tianyu smiled innocently and said, I'm just a debt collector. It's natural to pay back debts. If you plan to default on your debts, why don't I take action? Tsunade choked on the spot. At first she just planned to get her money back, but later she felt that Tianyu had ulterior motives and wanted to trick him. Later, I found out that Tianyu was not sent by an enemy, so I was ready to run away. Anyway, there were too many lice to bite me. It turned out that the opponent was incredibly powerful, and now he couldn't even run. What depresses her most is that the other party is her own son. The last time Jiraiya dared to be so bold, he almost beat him to death. He hadn't encountered anything like this in decades. Tsunade suddenly smiled brightly and nodded to Tianyu. Okay, you can let Shizune go first. Shizune said hurriedly. Tsunade-sama. Tsunade waved his hand and stared at Tianyu. Tianyu smiled slightly and let go of Shizune's shoulders. Shizune teleported behind Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, let's leave quickly. Tsunade shook his head and waved to Tianyu. Come. If they could run away, wouldn't they have run away just now? It's because they couldn't run away that they had to solve this problem first. Sensing Tsunade's intentions, Tianyu smiled and warmed up. I don't think I'm robbing a common girl. You lost to me yourself. If you lose, be obedient and spend the money as you like in the future. It will be enough for you to spend a lifetime in the casino. Tsunade put his hands on his fists and made a clicking sound. I really don't believe that evil, Tian Tong Jiao. She stamped on the ground suddenly. The whole land was instantly shattered as if it had been hit by an earthquake. The bulging land on the left and right lifted Tianyu into the air, and Tsunade clenched his right fist and hit him hard. Hey, Tianyu Zile in midair said, if you have the same talent as first generation, you may not be able to fight me twice. You can just rely on physical skills. Tianyu's Wukong technique stabilized his figure, and the energy in his body instantly exploded and merged into his body. The whole person disappeared in midair instantly as if teleporting. What? Tsunade's face changed, so fast. Is that the light heavy rock technique? Grandpa, are you really coming here with bad intentions? Too many words. Tianyu's faint voice reached Tsunade's ears. The figure instantly reached the lower position on her right side. He clenched his right fist and punched Tsunade in the abdomen. Severe pain came, and Tsunade simply rolled his eyes and fainted. Even the super level 3 Son Goku couldn't withstand Vegeta's unexpected punch, let alone Tsunade. Tsunade-sama. Shizun's expression changed drastically, and he opened his mouth and spat out a jet of black thunder towards Tianyu. Tianyu smiled slightly and waved his hand to directly create a hurricane to blow away the poisonous mist. I am willing to admit defeat. He used Tsunade to get behind Shizun in an instant, and knocked him unconscious with a knife. With the strength of other martial arts masters beyond cage level, even Tsunade cannot stand at cage level, let alone Shizun, who is now just a medical jonin. At this time, Tianyu finally understood why the battles in the Dragon Ball world were so plain and simple, except for fighting each other and fighting against each other. This method of condensing all energy into one body and converting it into attack power is far more conducive to combat than fancy escape techniques such as ninjutsu. In the words of a certain actor, speed is power. Use all your energy to increase speed, strength and defense. When the defense exceeds a certain limit, chakra, which converts energy into various elemental attributes, will no longer have any effect. If you could take a shower with lava, then lava style is naturally useless. Tianyu guessed that chakra's training system was not designed for fighting. It is more like a cultivation technique evolved for the purpose of creating the world and becoming a god. Yin-yang escape and chi training methods. The direction of cultivation is like Kaioshin and the god of destruction. Although Kaioshin and the god of destruction are equal in terms of priesthood, in fact the god of destruction's combat power far exceeds that of Kaioshin countless times. Tianyu helped Shizun who fainted. He casually threw it in a guest room in the villa. He looked at the 100 healings mark on Tsunade's forehead and smirked. Don't blame me, I don't want to wait for you to use up the chakra before charging you interest. However, at this time Tsunade opened. A night without words. The next day, Tsunade wrapped his body in sheets and looked at Tianyu with a complicated expression. Tianyu did not shy away from revealing his assets in front of Tsunade, wearing clothes and smiling. I thought you would react more violently. At this time, Tsunade looked at Tianyu with an uncharacteristic expression and said coldly. As a female ninja, you are mentally prepared for these things, but no one has been able to succeed before. 1 inch. Tianyu was stunned after hearing this. After all, he was born in a peaceful era, and he didn't even have the experience of Morino Hiki's generation, let alone the legendary master ninja in front of him who had experienced 2 great ninja wars. She might be very concerned about it before it happened, but when it really happened, she was unusually calm. Compared to the injuries suffered in the war, this humiliation is nothing to a ninja. Tsunade just stared at Tianyu indifferently and asked. Now is it time to tell me your identity and your purpose? Tianyu suddenly sighed. No wonder Tsunade, who woke up before the start yesterday, did not resist, but actively cooperated, which completely regarded him as a tool. Tianyu suddenly lost interest, and suddenly felt as if he had seen 500 people in one night. Tianyu casually threw a piece of clothing to Tsunade, and Tsunade put it on without hesitation. Tsunade looked at Tianyu coldly and said, okay, the interest has been paid, it's time to talk about it, right? If you want to kill me, I'll arrest you as you please. It's impossible to tell you the information. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try. Tianyu touched his nose, blinked his handsome big eyes and said awkwardly. Do you believe me when I say I'm here to take you back to Konoha to be a Hokage? Tsunade looked at Tianyu expressionlessly. Tianyu spread his hands with an innocent look on his face. Really, the 3rd generation is dead. I guess you should know a little bit about the twists and turns here. As for politics, just like that, Konoha F4, which has lost its backer, is ready to help you become the Hokage. Oh, F4 is from the elder group of Utatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura. Quote. Now Konoha is leaderless and urgently needs a wild Hokage to succeed him. Jiraiya didn't want to be a leader, so he recommended you, and I am the Konoha genin who was brought in by him to be a young man. General. Nin. From Konoha. Tsunade gritted his teeth and looked at Tianyu. Tianyu turned around with a guilty conscience. Ahem, Tianyu, who just graduated this year, please give me some advice. This is really just a collection of debts. As I said before, there is nothing else. Tsunade's eyes seemed to be filled with fire again. After a beating, the person who raped me was actually one of my own. No, Gangya. Tsunade stared at Tianyu with wide eyes and screamed. How old are you? Tianyu looked around, and man Hao Jiaohao said casually. Theoretically, you will be 13 soon, right? Tsunade pointed at Tianyu and trembled all over. His full chest rose and fell as he breathed. You. Seeing Tsunade's anger level getting higher and higher. Tianyu suddenly threw out a king bomb. I can resurrect Nawaki. Tsunade's expression changed when he heard this, and he stared at Tianyu. Tianyu smiled seductively and said to Tsunade. You have seen my strength, and you have also seen my fighting style. This is not from this world. Tsunade frowned and looked at Tianyu. Tianyu smiled and told Tsunade what he had said to Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen. By the way, I also popularized to Tsunade what Shenlong is and what the 7 Dragon Balls are. Tsunade frowned, stared at Tianyu coldly and said. You are lying. Tianyu smiled slightly. She casually slid her palm away, and the scarlet blood made Tsunade tremble instantly. At this time, she still had not overcome her hemophobia. However, the next second, a familiar power emerged from her. Tianyu's slipping wound healed quickly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Tsunade's eyes widened in shock. Creation is alive. No, that's not right. Is it Sage Body's Muji healing? Are you from the Senju clan? Tianyu shook his head and said. I'm just telling you that you don't know everything. I will go to Otherworld in the near future. If you are interested, you can go and see it together. Then you will know whether it is true or false. Even if it is only possible to resurrect in the ninja world, there is a way to summon the soul using impure world reincarnation, and then use the Rinnegan's Rinne Tensai technique to completely resurrect the dead. Tsunade snorted. Rinnegan. That being is the legendary light. Tianyu smiled slightly. I know who has. Tsunade's eyes widened when he heard this. Who? Tianyu didn't say anything, just looked at Tsunade who had just put on clothes with a smile. Feeling the familiar hot gaze, Tsunade's face turned slightly red and he took off his clothes again. Eat the marrow to know the taste, nothing more than this. Chapter 66 Konoha Ku. SS's Level War Mission released. Open black lens bracket 3 consecutive updates close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Another 3 days and 3 nights passed. Tianyu walked out of the room refreshed and refreshed. The sunshine in the woods lifted Tianyu's mood to a higher level again. Sure enough, as the body's energy becomes stronger the woman, the more she can exert herself to her fullest. He turned to look at the woods not far away. Shizune was blushing and gritting her teeth as she kept shooting with Senbon. It's inexplicable. What? Ah. Sinai. Shizune muttered as he put his whole body on a portrait of Tianyu. I am also an older leftover woman who is about to turn 30. How can I bear this kind of torture day and night? She couldn't stand the thought of the thumping and moaning sounds that came from her bed every night. He was still the enemy a second ago, but when he woke up, he felt that the world had changed. Sudden, a stream of hot air appeared next to her ears, making her whole body feel weak. Tianyu's warm voice made her scalp tingle. It's quite accurate. Do you want to teach me? Shizune sat down on the ground with a groan. Why are you here? Tianyu raised his eyebrows proudly and said with a smile. Of course I won a big victory, but my strength is even better. Shizune blushed and sighed Tianyu. His eyes unconsciously glanced at Tianyu's capital and he thought shyly, is he really that powerful? Tianyu smiled, not paying attention to Shizune's gaze. From a physiological point of view, women are much more lustful than men. Some of Tianyu's female friends in his previous life were so dirty that he had no business talking about them. Shizune hesitated for a moment and asked Tianyu. Is what you said before true? Tianyu smiled. Which sentence are you referring to? Shizune. It's about Tsunade-sama becoming a Hokage. Tianyu glanced at Shizune in surprise. I thought you were going to ask about resurrection. After all, there is Kato Dan, Tianyu didn't mention it, and Tsunade isn't that ignorant. Unexpectedly, Shizune, his niece, didn't seem to care about him either. Tianyu thought harshly. It's really miserable. Seemingly guessing Tianyu's thoughts, Shizune was also speechless. She was indeed Duan's niece, but she was only a niece. She was only that old when he died. How could she have such a deep affection after so many years? But since Tianyu said it, Shizune still asked casually. Can Kato Dan be resurrected? Tianyu smiled decisively. No way. Laozi is not a 2B, so he has too much time to resurrect a love rival for himself. Anyway, Tsunade has fallen into the trap, and as time goes by, she becomes in love, and as time goes by, the little affection she has for supporting her in setting up a ninja team will soon be replaced by him. Time is the medicine that heals everything. The reason why I miss 580 is because of the psychological shadow. Except for the lunatics of the Uchiha clan, there is nothing that cannot be dug down. Shizune rolled his eyes and gave Tianyu a decisive look of contempt. Tsunade-sama agreed. Tianyu smiled proudly. Can she say no? Shizune glanced sideways at Tianyu, feeling that this guy was nothing. It was already a day later when Tsunade woke up again. After the two people had an intimate relationship, their favorability level soared by more than one level. No matter what the original intention of going to bed is, when two people are completely honest with each other, they will unconsciously lose some barriers. This is why many scumbags believe in creating romance first and then talking about it. Tsunade is like this at this time. She unceremoniously borrowed 5 billion from Tianyu and went into the casino. Looking at Shizune who was gloating about his misfortune. Tianyu sneered and took out his observation hockey. Whatever Tsunade loses, Tianyu wins back twice as much. Until the casino owner knelt down and begged Tsunade to leave quickly, Tianyu's 6 billion was not only not missing, but also skyrocketed to 10 billion. If it weren't for the Fire Country's banknotes not being accepted in the other world, he would have wanted to create a civilized city and sweep through all the major casinos in the ninja world. Tsunade, who was blacklisted by the casino, was depressed and found Jiraiya, who was still having fun and drinking with Tianyu, and came Sennin, who had been resurrected by Dragon Ball not long ago. Tsunade, Jiraiya, who was hugging each other, looked at Tsunade in embarrassment and stammered. This is all for gathering intelligence, right? Gathering intelligence. Tsunade glanced at Jiraiya with disdain, the contempt in his eyes was beyond words. Tianyu sneered and grabbed the hand that was about to attack her chest. This is mine too. The turtle immortal retracted his hands with a sneer, and an enigmatic look replaced the original expression of a fool. Tsunade was shocked. He didn't notice the old man's attack just now. She looked at Kame Sento, whose face was covered with lipstick marks and had black lines on his head. He is the Kame Sennin you mentioned who lived for more than 300 years. Jiraiya stared with big eyes. Huh. This old man is over 300 years old. Turtle Immortal gestured proudly. I'm already 323 years old. Turtle Sennin was already 319 when he first appeared. Little Wukong and others have been practicing for 8 months. The martial arts tournament has been separated by 3 years. Now, not long after the second martial arts tournament ended, Big Demon Piccolo has just died, so he is already 23 years old. People like Tsunade and Jiraiya were no different from children in front of him. And Tsunade also understood why Tianyu didn't care about his age. If you can live for hundreds of years, there is really not much difference between the age of 15 and the age of 50. Tsunade finally felt that Tianyu's resurrection was no longer a lie. So she agreed to return to Konoha to serve as the Hokage. At the end of the mission, Kame Sennin was sent back to the Dragon Ball world by Tianyu. Before leaving, he invited Tianyu to participate in the world's best martial arts conference 3 years later. Tianyu asked Kame Sennin to look for the 7 Dragon Balls during this period, and wait until the right opportunity to resurrect his brother-in-law. Dragon Ball is not omnipotent, especially the Earth Dragon Ball's ability is actually not that great. At the very least, Tianyu can be sure that if he does not take Naoki's soul to the Dragon Ball world, Shenlong will definitely not be able to complete the resurrection. Shenlong is more like a minion with a priesthood in the Dragon Ball world. He can coordinate many rules within the scope of his abilities, such as regenerating the body and returning the soul from the underworld. But it is nonsense to say that Dragon Ball can resurrect souls from other worlds out of thin air. To use the explanation of Xingyu world, it means that the two are completely different from the same source, so it is naturally impossible to create such a thing out of thin air. But it would be much simpler if Tianyu brought Naoki from the dirty land to the Dragon Ball world and let the dragon create a physical body to resurrect. According to this comparison, the 6 Paths level in the ninja world may only have about the divine power of the Earth God. As for Sage of 6 Paths, this guy will most likely become the king of hell in the ninja world. Tianyu touched his chin and felt that the ninja world was becoming more and more interesting. Although the place is small, it seems that the rules are very comprehensive, there are many places worth exploring, and there is a sense of déjà vu like a newborn universe. Finding Tsunade was slow, but getting back was quick. 1 Choukage, 2 cage levels, and 1 Jonin hurried on, and returned to Konoha village within 2 days. Tianyu, whose strength surged again, decisively adjusted his attitude towards Konoha. This time he did not choose to go dormant, but directly asked Tsunade to summon all the Jonin in Konoha to start the long-lost Jonin meeting. The retired head of the InuYasha family and the previous generation of elite Jonin such as Hyuga Hiyashi, Aburame Shiwei, and Inuzuka Kuma all accepted the summons. The excuse mentioned in the anime that InuYasha came back because of the heavy losses caused by Konoha's collapse plan seems to have become a joke at this moment. Everyone just doesn't want to be cannon fodder in the hands of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Akamaiki Dingza asked Nara Shikaku in a low voice. What are you doing this time? Nara said in a deep voice with wisdom shining in his eyes. Zuo Ding's face darkened. I wonder why you are so proud. He turned to look at Yamanaka Haichi on the other side, only to find that he had a frown on his face and didn't know what he was thinking. What's wrong with you? Haiyi sighed. My little girl accidentally made friends. Now Tianyu is the long one and Tianyu is the short one all day long. That guy Tianyu is a bomb. I don't know what happened to Chunan's trouble in the exam. The key is that I heard that he even molested the teacher. My daughter I just like him, alas. Lu Ju chuckled nonchalantly and said. You can go there if you like it. Tianyu's family is very rich. With the support of Tianyu's family, Yamanaka family may directly realize a class leap. Isn't this much better than your shabby flower shop? Although these ninjas all have side industries, they are basically ordinary businesses. Except for the well-structured big clans like the Hyuga, and the rare ninja clan like the Nara clan, which has the specialty of cultivating medicinal materials, the other ninja clans let their clansmen find their own livelihoods. After all, not everyone is suitable to be a ninja. Especially after joining Konoha, the ninja clan has transformed from a pure mercenary organization to a civilian attribute. Only those tribesmen who can't stand loneliness and have little spare money are willing to take the ninja den title and do tasks to earn a lot of money. A direct descendant of the Hyuga clan like Hyuga Hiyashi who never goes out is theoretically not even a ninja. However, a large number of branch house Hyuga clan members joined the Konoha guard force to make money to support the clan. Therefore, a rich man like Tianyu who has a mine in his family. Second generation is extremely attractive even among the ninja clan, except of course the Hyuga clan, which values bloodlines. But Haiyi is not the kind of person who sells his daughter for glory. He glared at Lu Ju and snorted coldly, "Why don't you send your daughter away?" Lu Ju chuckled. "I don't have a daughter. If your daughter and the Tianyu become in-laws, I wouldn't mind marrying a baby." Haiyi. Get out. Just when everyone was whispering, Konoha F3 slowly walked in from the side door. Danzo, Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura looked a little ugly. Because of this meeting, Tsunade did not report to them at all. Udatane Kaharu snorted dissatisfiedly. "You haven't become a Hokage yet." Mitokado Homura also had a gloomy look on his face. Sure enough, Jiraiya is more suitable to be a Hokage. Danzo glanced at the two of them with disdain. Sarutobi Hiruzen was nothing more than a loser who followed the crowd. Sarutobi Hiruzen lost his backbone when he died. Unlike himself, he took advantage of this period of time to not only resume his position as Hokage's assistant, but also to reunite his roots from Anbu again. Compared to Sarutobi Hiruzen's method of brainwashing by the will of fire, his own method of cultivating dead soldiers is obviously more advanced. Danzo didn't pay any attention to these two useless people who were against him. If the time had not been ripe, he would have taken the opportunity to seize the position of Hokage. But it's not too late now. Although these two losers have little strength or influence, their status is recognized. They roped in Tsunade to fight, and maybe they could knock her out of the Hokage position in a few years. I used to think that voting by the Elder Council was disgusting, but now Danzo feels that it is very useful to limit the Hokage's power. The arrival of the elders made the bustling venue quiet. Everyone was waiting for the three elders to speak. In their opinion, the summit meeting should have been initiated by Konoha Chengtu. However, Danzo and the other three frowned. This rally was initiated by Tsunade, and they had no idea what Tsunade was going to do. Udatane Kaharu frowned and asked, "Isn't Tsunade here?" The Jonin below looked at each other. At this moment, the side door on the other side of the conference room suddenly opened. Tianyu, Tsunade and Jiraiya walked straight towards the high platform. Everyone's faces were slightly stunned. Why did Genin appear here? And he's still at the forefront. The instructors Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma in the crowd. Jonin was stunned for a moment, with a look of confusion on his face. Looking at Tianyu and others walking towards him. Udatane Kaharu stood up and said sternly, "Stop. It's okay to be late for the meeting. Tsunade, you are not a Hokage yet, so your position is below. And how can a Genin be qualified to participate in the Jonin gathering? Tsunade, just. Even the Hokage must abide by the rules." She pointed to the bar on the side and motioned for Tsunade to get down. There was a hint of pride in his eyes. What's wrong with being a Hokage? We in Konoha have a voting system. With a 4-person elder board, you can't make any waves with just one vote. Do you really think you are Sarutobi Hiruzen? Tianyu scratched his head and touched his nose. A whooshing sound. A Qigong bomb from Tianyu's fingertip drew a blue light and hit Udatane Kaharu's head. Boom. A small explosion exploded from Udatane Kaharu's head. Everyone watched in horror as the unrecognizable Udatane Kaharu fell to the ground. The scene fell into a deathly silence. A few seconds later, Mitokado Homura's angry roar came. "What are you doing? Come here. Why don't you take it down?" Boom. Before he could finish speaking, he disappeared into the room instantly. What remained in place was Tianyu as if nothing had happened, and a huge hole that penetrated the Hokage building behind him. So fast. Everyone turned their heads stiffly. Tianyu opened his white teeth and smiled at the Konoha Jonin. "Ahem, everyone, the coup has begun now. Those who support Tsunade-sama stand on the left, those who support me stand on the right, and those who want to die stand in the middle." As soon as he finished speaking, the terrifying energy instantly swept through the entire conference room. Everyone looked in horror at Tianyu, who was stunned as his chakra burst caused chaos all around. Danzo felt in disbelief that this was no less terrifying than the first Hokage back then. Chakra's scalp was numb. A feeling of sadness emerged in his heart unconsciously. A strong man of this level is enough to make ordinary people like them feel desperate. I survived the 3rd generation myself, but how can I defeat a genin who just graduated from ninja school? What a joke. He walked down the high platform in despair and stood silently on the side where Udatane Kaharu originally pointed. Danzo, who has experienced the Senju Hashirama era, knows very well that a strong man of this level cannot be defeated by conspiracy. The First Ninja World War broke out because of Hashirama's death. Rather than saying that tailed beasts are nuclear weapons, it is better to say that Hashirama is a nuclear weapon. If a strong man of this level appears again, his position as Hokage will be completely out of reach. He roared in anguish and unwillingness. Obviously only I can lead Konoha to completely conquer the ninja world. Tianyu looked at the Jonin who quickly stood on both sides with a satisfied smile on their faces. What kind of conspiracy and tricks are all rubbish in the face of absolute strength? He looked at the many anxious Konoha Jonin and slowly smiled and said, "Don't worry, everyone, Hokage is still Tsunade, and I'm just an intermediary here to release tasks. SSS-level war mission, annihilate the Whitebeard pirates. I have an employer. 7 warlords of the Sea Doflamingo. Everyone looked at Tianyu in confusion. Ben's side door was opened again, and a bandy-legged handsome man wearing a pink cloak walked towards the podium with one step. Behind him were Torbal, who was covered in snot, and a cute little girl eating blueberries. Doflamingo walked up to the stage and waved his hand, and Toribal instantly summoned a dozen boxes with sealing scrolls. Doflamingo lifted it casually, and the box was opened by String Fruit's ability. Countless shining gold coins caught the eyes of all the ninjas. Doflamingo let out a jeering laugh and said excitedly, "Here's the deposit." Chapter 67. Colonizing the Pirate World. Tianyu's invasion, 3 consecutive updates. Advertise here. The Jonin looked at the gold all over the ground in astonishment. Even after the Third Ninja War, we didn't spend so much money. Deposit. Shikamaru took a breath. He looked around, and the eyes of the ordinary Jonin were all green. Why can Sarutobi Hiruzen absorb a large number of civilian ninjas? Isn't it because Hokage controls the promotion channels and mission releases of civilian ninjas? A good task can make money easily, and a lot. Ninjas are people too. There are also 7 emotions and 6 desires, although the ninja school has been brainwashing the ninja code, abandoning emotions and becoming a ruthless tool. In fact, except for Genbu and Anbu, no one has done this. Most of them choose to become ninjas in order to make money and live a good life. Now an opportunity to make a fortune is right in front of you. The yellow-orange gold coins flashed so brightly that their eyes gleamed. Tianyu stepped forward and stood side by side with Doflamingo. He smiled at the excited ninjas. Next, each Jonin will work with his team to prepare supplies, and then wait for the call. Later, Anbu will send the information about this war to everyone. The deposit will be sent directly and you can collect it by yourself. Many ninjas were delighted when they heard this. In the past, war missions were basically compulsory, and there was no such direct payment. The reason why Sarutobi Hiruzen retired from the position of Hokage was because during the Third Ninja World War, he signed an unconditional peace treaty with Iwagakure regardless of the interests of the ninja clan, which caused heavy losses to many ninja clans. Originally, they were worried that Tianyu would also come to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Now Tianyu directly handed over the money to everyone. Even if the tribesmen on the front line suffered losses, the gold would be enough to make up for it. Tianyu glanced sideways at Danzo. Then send Doflamingo back to the pirate world. He walked forward and glanced at the body of Utatane Kaharu on the ground with disgust. Then he smiled at the ninja below and said, "The time is set after the Hokage's succession ceremony, the summoning contract is signed, and I will lead the team to directly summoning and go to the battlefield." Tianyu paused, looked at Danzo, Hyuga Hiyashi and others and slowly said, "This is an opportunity for us in Konoha village. What I said before is true. On the surface, we are hired by the Shogunate of Otherworld to participate in the extermination of pirates. As for secretly, our purpose is to hide and sneak into Otherworld, control the resources of the entire Otherworld." Danzo looked at Tianyu sharply after hearing this. The ninja clan also looked over in shock. An excited smile appeared on Tianyu's face. "Yes, you heard it right, our goal is colonization. The ninja world is too small. The land, technology, and population are all too weak. Fame, wealth, status. Everything is in that world. Go, there you can realize all your dreams." Backquote of. Many civilian ninjas had an excited carnival. Ino Shikacho, Hyuga Hiyashi and others looked at Tianyu with complicated expressions. Tsunade was speechless as he watched his man fool around. Shit, 40 years old, this is a little kid with a childlike innocence. If he hadn't known about the great secret treasure in the pirate world in advance, he might have really believed it. Tianyu smiled, directly led Tsunade out of the conference room. "How did I just say it?" Tsunade rolled his eyes. "You are free." Tianyu spreads his hands. "Originally, I planned to ask them to help me stand up, but it seems that I won't need it now. Since Doflamingo is willing to pay for it, let's go and have fun." At first, Tianyu wanted to win over Konoha to go to Summit War to gain experience because of his strength. But as the strength became stronger, Konoha's ninjas became dispensable. But since Doflamingo had previously agreed to let him spend money to hire ninjas to participate in the war, he might as well just treat it as a war mission. After the game is over, let the ninjas take root in the world of pirates. Ninjas with 3-body technique are equivalent to a clone fruit ability user, with full survivability. Tianyu originally planned to plant a complete 10 tails in the ninja world, and then obtain the chakra fruit by absorbing all the vitality of the ninja world. This time is considered as an exploration before immigrating. Naturally, Tianyu would not tell these silly ninjas in the ninja world. They never imagined that Tianyu would go crazy and destroy the entire ninja world to increase his strength. And they will not understand that there will be a god of destruction in the universe who specializes in destruction. With different cognitions, they are destined to be unable to understand the thoughts of the strong. Even the anime world still follows the law of the dark forest of the jungle and the strong. For the rest of the time, Tianyu directly found the Sarutobi clan and asked them to return the seal scroll that originally belonged to Konoha. Those so-called advanced ninjutsu, forbidden technique, are no longer of much help to Tianyu. Unless it is a yin-yang level ninjutsu, it is already difficult for Wei Feng to use his previous combat power to add bonuses. However, there are 2 forbidden techniques in the Book of Ceilings that make Tianyu envious. That would be Flying Thunder God Technique and Impure World Reincarnation. Impure World Reincarnation was banned by Hashirama due to half of its research. Therefore, the Impure World Reincarnation of Second Hokage recorded in the Book of Seals is actually incomplete. Not only is it difficult to perform the surgery, but the technique is also imprecise. The clones produced from the dirty soil are far inferior to the original ones. This is also why the first generation and second generation summoned by Orochimaru in the Konoha collapse plan are both sluggish and weak. Tianyu is not very interested in Impure World Reincarnation at this time. Unless developed to the level of Yakushi Kabuto, Impure World Reincarnation is not as useful as Tianyu's summoning technique. So what Tianyu really covets is second generation's Flying Thunder God technique. This kind of space ninjutsu, which turns chakra into a spell to mark and achieve teleportation, is not outdated even in the world of Dragon Ball. For example, Sun Wukong has a teleporting turtle-style qigong that directly smashes the upper body of the killing. And the most pervert is, the Flying Thunder God's formation can deflect attacks. 4th generation has moved Tailed Beast Bomb to other locations more than once. Once this move is used properly, even the Vitality Bombs can be transferred away, which is a pervert. If you can use Chi to replace the Flying Thunder God spell and become the Sky's Path mark of Flying Thunder God, then your life-saving ability will be greatly improved. It's a pity that the killing experience does not include memory. Otherwise, the 4th generation soul obtained in Shinigami's body is enough to save him the time of learning Flying Thunder God. But even though I have no memory, but the talent of learning space ninjutsu falls within the absorption range of the first light point. With just more practice, Tianyu will soon be able to regain control of the Flying Thunder God technique. As for Tianyu, who possesses a will and chakra that is even more resistant than Naruto's, the most important thing he lacks is experience. So the army of tens of thousands of Shadow Clone once again started the research and development of Flying Thunder God technique in full swing. Tianyu's true body silently arrived outside Konoha village. 2 mounds of soil suddenly rose up on the ground. Orochimaru and Black Zetsu emerged from the ground at the same time. You are really earthworms, right? Orochimaru and Black Zetsu were also stunned at the same time. Damn it, I didn't find it. The 2 looked at each other in astonishment. I cursed involuntarily in my heart. What the hell, with my scumbag skills, I didn't even notice my opponent. Tianyu didn't care either, he just laughed and said. You guys arrived just in time. Orochimaru chuckled. I am really interested in the world you mentioned. I can feel that we are the same kind of people. This is my summoning contract and the Raikai reincarnation technique. Gods are their own people, ghosts and you are their own people. Tianyu rolled his eyes. The deal is established. Sign your name on this sealed book. I will summon you when the time comes. Tianyu threw a scroll to Orochimaru, which was the summoning scroll used in the Chunin test of heaven and earth. Can be summoned by establishing a channel through the scroll. When Pain attacked the village, the Beast Path used this method to summon Pain's 6 paths into Konoha village to confuse the number of enemies. Orochimaru signed his name without any doubt. He glanced at Black Zetsu and chuckled with a hoarse voice. Then I will wait for the good news. After saying that, the snake slowly sank. Black Zetsu's eyelids twitched several times. No wonder TM can't sense it. This guy's escape skills are almost at the yin-yang escape level. Is he so afraid of death? Tianyu smiled at Black Zetsu and said. What did you say? I thought it was Kakuzu. Black Zetsu said with a dark face. We can accept employment, but we need Shukaku's chakra. Tianyu laughed when he heard this. Shukaku. I don't know where it is. Black Zetsu said solemnly. When Jinchuriki dies, the tailed beast will be resurrected at the altar, but this time Jinchuriki dies and Shukaku does not appear, then there is only one possibility, Shukaku is sealed. Black Zetsu stared at Tianyu and slowly said. And I heard you used magnet style. Tianyu smiled slightly. You don't think I'm a Jinchuriki, do you? Black Zetsu said in a deep voice. We only need a little bit of Shukaku's chakra, not Shukaku's true body. This has no effect on you. Tianyu looked at Black Zetsu with a smile and said. I thought you were going to be more arrogant. Black Zetsu said nothing. He also wanted to be more arrogant, but he changed his mind the moment he saw Tianyu. Because the person in front of him smelled like the stinky toad who had alienated Yuya and harmed his own mother. It was the smell of natural energy. Tianyu shook his head with regret and said with a smile. Shukaku, I really don't have one, but I know someone who does. Black Zetsu frowned and asked, who? Tianyu grinned. Crocodile. Pirate World. Dressrosa. With a bang, a burst of smoke appeared, and Tianyu's figure appeared in front of the Emperor's minister. Doflamingo glanced at Tianyu, smiled strangely and sarcastically said to Tianyu. You are cautious enough. When will the real body come? Tianyu shrugged. I am a person who is afraid of death. Doflamingo didn't pay attention and just asked Tianyu. Where are you going this time? Tianyu touched his chin. Sabayati Archipelago, isn't it quite close to Marineford? It's a good time to join in the fun. Doflamingo waved his hand, and Baby 5 walked out from the side and ran to Tianyu's side and said excitedly. Requesting flowers. 0. Honey, are you coming to see me again? Tianyu nodded. That's for sure, I need you all the time. Baby 5's eyes flashed, and he hugged Tianyu and left Dressrosa. Looking at Tianyu leaving, Doflamingo aside, Diamante had a look of contempt on her face. I only send Shadow Clone every time. This kid is too cowardly. Young master, according to me, I should have subdued them directly last time. Didn't Torebel say that they are all a group of weak people? Chicken, don't you even have the strength to be a cadre? Doflamingo waved his hand. Don't act rashly. Who knows if it's true or not? You can hire them to work for a little money. There's no need to conquer them. But this time, we have to find a way to get the ninjutsu training method. With this method, our strength may be greatly improved. Is the time determined? Diavolo shook his head. It should be within the next 2 days. The two people were talking about the execution time of Fire Fist Ace. On the other side, Tianyu flew directly to Sabayati Archipelago in the human body aircraft Buffalo. Doflamingo has a slave business on the island, so using the permanent pointer of the Sabayati Archipelago, he sent Wei Feng to the island in less than a day. Looking at the huge redwood trees and dreamlike bubbles, Tianyu's eyes showed a hint of shock. Compared with the realism of the ninja world, the world of pirates is undoubtedly a strange and dreamy place. This world has many wonderful scenery that did not exist in the previous life. Mr. Tianyu, I'm sorry. Buffalo glanced at Tianyu, who looked like a rustic, and chuckled. After saying that, he turned into a humanoid plane and spiraled into the sky and flew away. Tianyu smacked his lips, saying that there are no rubbish abilities, only rubbish ability users, but no matter how he looked at this Zhuanzhuan fruit, he felt it was rubbish. Tianyu closed his eyes and felt the first vortex representing the ninja world. Yes, the connection with Summoningmon is there. If you want to return, you just need to let it reverse summoning itself. This time it's not the shadow clone that comes to the pirate world, but Tianyu's true form. As for being mistaken by Doflamingo in the past, it was entirely because Tianyu at this time only had 1/10,000th of the energy of his body due to multiple shadow clone techniques. That's why Doflamingo mistakenly identified him as shadow clone. Summoning technique. Tianyu bit his finger and slapped it on the ground. With a bang, several figures quickly appeared in the white mist. Success. Tianyu's eyes lit up. Kakashi, Naruto, and Sasuke appeared in the white mist. As this otherworld, Kakashi looked at the tall redwood trees around him with a shocked expression. He had never seen such a spectacular scene in the ninja world. Naruto's eyes widened with excitement on his face. Awesome. This is so beautiful. Even Sasuke couldn't help but stay for a while looking at the bubbles all over the sky. Teacher Kakashi, you'd better appreciate it later and try summoning. Tianyu threw out a summoning scroll. Kakashi nodded after taking it and began to try to summon. Summoning technique. Kakashi bit his finger, opened the scroll and pressed it to the ground. But there was no response from the scroll at this time. Tianyu raised his eyebrows. As expected, he took the scroll and pressed it directly on the ground. Summoning technique. With a bang, white mist filled the air again. A black shadow appeared in the white mist. Quote. Orochimaru's hoarse voice came from the white mist. Kakashi, Naruto, and Sasuke's eyes suddenly widened. Orochimaru. The three of them immediately took up stances nervously and aimed at Orochimaru. However, Tianyu waved his hand and said, "We are all fellow ninjas. Don't get too excited. Orochimaru's rebellion was ultimately forced. We are not enemies." Kakashi twitched his lips and put away the kunai in his hand. Naruto waited for Big Eyes to say unwillingly, "He even bit me." Orochimaru chuckled. "I was giving you power." Sasuke's eyes moved slightly. One of the two options Tianyu once said was to follow Orochimaru. He touched the curse mark on his neck. Although it is very painful, the bonus to strength is undoubtedly huge. Especially after Naruto transformed into Nine Tails, the curse mark in his body was removed by the Nine Tails chakra. With the curse seal, he could barely compete with Naruto. Orochimaru seemed to notice Sasuke's peak, and he smiled dryly at Sasuke. "Your heavenly curse seal is incomplete. Do you want a stronger curse seal state? I can satisfy you." Sasuke snorted and turned his head. He came to this world this time to become stronger, there was no need to go on such a dangerous mission. At this time, Tianyu looked at the summoning scroll and confirmed in his heart again. The connection between the two worlds requires the help of the time and space channel in one's own mind. Otherwise, even if you have a summoning scroll, you will not be able to summon the ninjas in the ninja world from Otherworld. A trace of pride flowed from the corner of Tianyu's mouth. "Sure enough, do you still need me? Without my help, these ninjas can't even return to the ninja world. This way, you don't have to worry about loyalty." Chapter 68 The Contracted Dead. Impure World Reincarnation. Open black lens bracket 3 consecutive updates close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Orochimaru also tried summoning his subordinates once, but the result was also unsuccessful. I can't try the Ultra Shadow and 6 Paths levels, so there probably won't be any difference. It can only be said that cheat is still cheat after all. Although it seems to have a simple function, it is still very powerful. Is this equivalent to drilling a hole in the dimensional wall? In the past, Tianyu was worried that ninjas from the ninja world would imitate his various summons when they came to Otherworld. Now it seems that only through his own golden vortex can he successfully summon people. Come to think of it, if cross-dimensional summoning was really that simple, the protagonist in the novel wouldn't need cheat. Oh. The roller coaster whizzed past, and Naruto screamed with excitement. Kakashi looked at Tianyu, who was having a great time riding a bubble car with his head full of black lines, and asked, "What on earth are we here for?" Tianyu spread his hands with an innocent look. "Gathering information, Naruto." "Ah, Mr. Kakashi. It's so fun. Come here too." "Ah. Kakashi. Is this what you call gathering intelligence?" The technological development of the ninja world and the pirate world is very abnormal. The biotechnology of the ninja world has already been able to clone tailed beasts. However, life technology has barely been developed into television, and the entertainment industry, let alone amusement parks, is basically like attending a temple fair. The life of the pirate people is more like modern Europe, but it even has space-based weapons popping up, not to mention a mere amusement park. Tianyu glanced at Naruto with disdain. "If you don't take your girl with you to the amusement park, why are you having fun? It's childish. Intelligence collection should be left to professionals. We are traveling at public expense, right, Uncle Snake?" After asking Orochimaru's summoning to no avail, Tianyu safely got the 4 Yakushi Kabuto and Sound Ninja out. Now they are active in the lawless area under the name of the Sound Ninja Pirates. The side effect of Chongwu's curse seal is the amplification of negative emotions. It is undoubtedly nonsense to expect them to honestly, 4 or 5, to inquire about information. It is better to just let them out and let them play freely. Orochimaru smiled evilly, stared at the pirates coming and going with bright eyes, licked his tongue and said, "You are right, this world is very interesting, their physical fitness is very strong, they are all the best materials for impure world reincarnation." Tianyu nodded, showing a natural expression. Although the top players in the pirate world are not as good as Hokage. But this is just because the cultivation system is rubbish. In other words, the main focus of One Piece world is that quantitative changes lead to qualitative changes. They will not think of ways to develop more attributes like the Hokage world, or even integrate bloodline limit, bloodline elimination, and bloodline snare. They just keep strengthening their bodies so that they can withstand more Haki or Devil Fruit abilities. So although the strength of the pirate world may not be very strong, its potential is not small. Especially in terms of vitality, any pirate who can reach Sabayati Archipelago can at least hold up a white Zetsu. A swish sound. The person they were chatting with suddenly appeared in front of them. Yakushi Kabuto's Arab-style dress made Tianyu unable to help but want to laugh out loud. As a professional undercover agent, Kabuto naturally wouldn't care about such ridicule. He said with a smile. "Master Orochimaru and Master Tianyu have found out. Now there are a total of 12 people on the island who are eligible to be sacrificed. This is the list." Tianyu took the list and a flash of damn flashed in his eyes. He pulled out all the 12 supernovae and detailed information about the pirate group and its members. You must know that they have only been on the island for less than 3 days. Tianyu hasn't even recognized the island number yet, and he is indeed the dream ambassador behind the 4 Ninja World Wars. Kabuto introduced to Orochimaru and Tianyu. According to Master Tianyu, an excellent sacrifice can restore the summoner's greatest strength. In this way, we can target Paramesha demon fruit powers such as Luffy, Kid, Apu, and Hawkins. According to the information I have obtained, Paramesha devil fruit has additional bonus effects on the body. Tianyu smacked his lips. Where did you get this information? Kabuto pushed up his glasses and smiled. People in this world seem to be less prepared for the transformation technique. I just spotted the pirates who left the team alone and killed them, then used the transformation technique to sneak in. Originally, I was worried that the difference in behavior and way of speaking would reveal something, but now it seems that they won't doubt peers who look the same at all. Tianyu touched his nose. Some people can admit their mistakes even if they look different. People in the pirate world are so nervous that they can make you collapse. The premise is that you don't show any hostility or murderous intent. Many times they rely on instinct comparable to that of wild beasts to distinguish between ourselves and the enemy. Tianyu looked away from Luffy. Although Tianyu feels that the most suitable sacrifice is Luffy, the reincarnated king of Nika, it is obvious that now is not the time. After all, he still has to go to the Summit War. But he had already thought about it. When Garp released his weapon, Tianyu would punch this funny guy away. The expressions on those people's faces on the battlefield must be very exciting at that time. Tianyu glanced around and finally focused on a strange orangutan face. Just him, Skalakman Apu, a user with sound fruit ability, just happened to do it together with the experiment. Orochimaru nodded. Kabuto immediately left and went to capture Apu. As for success or failure, neither Tianyu nor Orochimaru worried about it. The level from Vice Admiral to Admiral in the pirate world may be much better than the Jonin to Cage level in the ninja world. But a rookie like the 12 supernovas who haven't even mastered Haki is only equivalent to a special Jonin at best. This is still due to the bonus of his Devil Fruit ability. What's more, the battle between ninjas is not purely based on hard power. Under the Super Shadow, even Cage level may be poisoned by Chunin or even Genin. For example, the third generation, known as the strongest Kazekage, died at the hands of the young red sand scorpion. Tianyu casually threw the information to Orochimaru. He asked Kabuto to collect information just to hide the truth from others. With his understanding of the plot of One Piece, he didn't need to do this at all. But ninjas are all fighting intelligence wars. The collapse of the battle power of the two Susanoo Daibutsu who destroyed the four countries in the later period has not yet affected the ninja world at this time. Devil Fruit's weakness is so obvious that Water Style, which can control sea water, is a complete loser. Even if they are on land, the ninja can set the summoning port in the sea in advance like Tiantian does, and wait until the battle starts to directly summon the sea water. As for Logia's so-called elementalization, it makes no sense at all to ninjas who use chakra. Sabayati Land Park is located on Island 30, adjacent to Islands 1 to 29 in the Lawless Zone. With Yakushi Kabuto's speed, he quickly arrived at Island 24 where supernovae gathered. Kabuto pushed up his glasses, broke the neck of a sailor whose memory was forcibly read and threw it aside. Those with sound fruit abilities can cause damage through sound. The attack range depends on the target's hearing range, and sight controls the damage range. He took out a ninja card to supplement Appu's information. Is it really similar to the genjutsu of the Kurama clan? It uses sound to disturb the chakra in the enemy's body to cause its own chakra to riot. However, the laws of the two worlds are basically the same and need more research. Kabuto wrote the word, to be determined, on the intelligence card's ability, and then directly transformed into the subordinate he killed before and walked towards the restaurant where Appu was. Boom. Suddenly there was an explosion. The crowd on the street screamed and then began to flee into the distance. Appu jumped out of the smoke and smiled provocatively at Kid behind the smoke. If you want to fight, come out and accompany me. Now, you don't know how powerful I am, right? Yakushi Kabuto narrowed his eyes. Is there a fight? Sure enough, as Tianyu said, the order of this world has collapsed. No, according to the pirates, the world government can only represent part of the kingdom. Is it a bit like the Sengoku period? Kid walked out of the smoke with a gloomy face. He snorted at Appu with a cold face and arrogance. Who told you to keep staring at Lousy? A boy behind him shouted to Kid. Boss, you can't do anything. Kid took out the dagger in his arms and licked it with an arrogant look. When you see a guy who makes you want to vomit, you unconsciously want to kill him. Not far away, Yakushi Kabuto complained crazily. This is not a ninja's dagger. If it were a ninja's, he would be poisoned and die within 5 seconds of taking one lick. And taking this opportunity, Yakushi Kabuto quickly ran to Appu and said loudly. Captain, oh no, the celestial dragons are coming. Let's move first. Appu and Kid frowned at the same time. Celestial dragons. Upon seeing this, Appu pointed at Kid with his three-jointed long finger and sneered. You are lucky this time, let's go. Okay. The moment Appu turned around, Yakushi Kabuto's hand was wrapped with a blue chakra scalpel and he lightly scratched Appu's neck. With a pop, Appu instantly collapsed to the ground. Nani, what's going on? With a look of horror on his face, Appu found that his entire body was completely out of control. The transformed Yakushi Kabuto shouted in panic. Captain, what's wrong with you? He helped Appu up, glanced at Kid with a fearful expression on his face, and then quickly ran away. The whole process takes less than 5 seconds. Kid looked blankly as he watched the arrogant bastard being carried away inexplicably. Kabuto, who was out of everyone's sight, casually dropped Appu on the ground. At this time, Appu finally realized that there was definitely something wrong with the subordinate in front of him. Appu looked horrified at Yakushi Kabuto who kept touching him and shouted angrily. Who are you? You are not Rakawa steel plate. What are you doing? Kabuto found a piece of tape and taped Appu's mouth. He looked at Appu like a general teacher, his eyes full of surprise. The overall meridians and acupuncture points are almost the same as those of ordinary people. The arms have an extra movable joint. Are they people with long hands? Can this thing be considered a human race? Chakra scalpel is easier to use than expected. It can easily cut off the opponent's spine without defense. Next time I need to find a pirate with haki to try the effect of chakra scalpel. After studying the new humans in the pirate world, Kabuto directly carried Appu to Sabayati Park. Tianyu, who was flirting with a strange girl, blinked. Then he put the phone number he was about to receive into his pocket and said goodbye to her with a smile. You're quite fast. Tianyu smacked his lips. After all, it's also the 12 supernovas, the so-called generation of sin. When I first watched the anime, I thought it was pretty cool. Awesome, I didn't expect to be so irresistible. Yakushi Kabuto smiled. The other party has no defense and is too vigilant. Tianyu rolled his eyes. To put it bluntly, these pirates were just a group of civilians before they went to sea. This group of ninjas, whose main occupation is assassination, is simply a dimension-reducing blow against these people. It is not a dimensionality reduction in terms of strength, but a dimensionality reduction in terms of means. Tianyu found Kakashi and spoke to him and Sasuke. After a while, there will be a commotion here. Some traffickers kidnap mermaids. You can help the Straw Hat Crew machine. Sasuke, don't you want strength? There is a peak cage level behind them, or even a strong person beyond cage level. If you can learn from him for a few years, you can go to Guy. I studied with many teachers. Quote. Sasuke's eyes lit up when he heard this. Are you telling the truth? Tianyu nodded and said seriously. Children are innocent. After Tianyu finished speaking, he left the crowded Sabayati Park directly with Orochimaru. Wait until we reach a remote corner of the island. Kabuto threw Appu on the ground and began to set up the magic circle. Orochimaru on the side explained to Tianyu. Impure world reincarnation is essentially a summoning technique, except that the contract we want to sign is with the deceased, using the genes of the deceased as a medium to complete the contract with the soul in the Pure Land. Next, during the battle, you only need to seal the contracted earth body in a special coffin and you can summon it at any time. Tianyu nodded and put his consciousness on the Minister of the Fifth Light Point in his mind. Since appearing in the Chunin exam, it has been in a semi-dormant state. Tianyu also did not sign a new contract for summoning. If it is a contracted undead, Tianyu himself is also looking forward to something that can be summoned. Orochimaru looked at the paralyzed Appu with an interested expression. He put his hand on Appu's forehead. The whole person's consciousness instantly invaded Appu's consciousness space. There is no seal here, but a strange-shaped fruit is floating in the air. Orochimaru looked at the fruit with interest and murmured. Is this the devil fruit Jinchuriki that Tianyu was talking about? It doesn't have the same sense of autonomy as the tailed beast. Orochimaru's passionate pursuit of knowledge filled him with excitement. This unknown power fascinated him. He exited the space of consciousness and asked Tianyu excitedly. You said before that if Zone Demon Fruit power failed to awaken, he would become a fool. Tianyu chuckled. It seems you have guessed it too. Orochimaru nodded and said excitedly. According to this logic, the so-called devil fruit awakening is actually like obtaining the tailed beast chakra, wrestling with the devil fruit. If successful, you can obtain 3.2. Powerful, but if it fails, it will be replaced by devil fruit's consciousness. Tianyu threw Appu onto the already drawn formation and nodded. That's what I guessed. Every world can always find something the same. The earthly couple who practices and pays attention to the law of wealth, Wei Feng feels that having a smart Orochimaru is indeed much more reliable than doing blind research on his own. Seeing that the preparation ceremony has ended, Orochimaru instructed Tianyu. Next, we only need to put the gene-containing medium here to carry out the summoning contract. Tianyu nodded, took out the seal scroll and threw it away. With a bang, several hairs fell down and fell into the formation. Tianyu quickly formed seals with his hands and pressed hard on the formation. Reanimation jutsu. Countless confetti appeared out of thin air and swept towards Appu. Appu whined and screamed in fear, but he couldn't move at all because his body was paralyzed. Just when he was in complete despair, those demon-like scraps of paper scattered all over the place again and disappeared. Orochimaru frowned. It failed. Is it because of the cross-border summoning? Tianyu's expression was calm, as if he wasn't too surprised by this. Then he summoned a few red hairs and put them into the formation. After the same process, Appu experienced the fear of death again. He looked at Tianyu with an angry face. If he could speak at this time, he would definitely curse. Damn it, a scholar cannot be killed or humiliated. What do you mean by scaring people over and over again? Tianyu sighed and finally confirmed his guess. The media I use are third generation Angara. The basis of impure world reincarnation is the souls of the Pure Land or the underworld. The souls of those who died in their own hands have long been swallowed up completely by their own golden vortex, and what the hell? He turned to look at Orochimaru and said with a smile. You should have Hashirama's cells, right? Lend them to me. Chapter 69, Furious Senju Hashirama. Slay the Celestial Dragons. Open black lens bracket 3 consecutive updates close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Reanimation jutsu. Tianyu gave a low shout, and countless confetti surged up, completely engulfing Appu. Appu, who survived twice, was no longer lucky this time, and his body was sacrificed directly as a sacrifice. And at the same time, while Tianyu's physical and mental energy increased, the first vortex representing the technique changed a lot again. As for the ability of the sound fruit, it was also mastered by Tianyu in an instant. Tianyu touched his chin and said thoughtfully. Compared to Genjutsu, is it more similar to Mangekyo's pupil technique? The sound fruit is more like the pupil technique after awakening Mangekyo, which uses spiritual energy to create material reactions from nothing. It's just that the sound fruit uses sound, not eye power. Tianyu snapped his fingers. With a bang, a violent explosion occurred on Orochimaru's body. From the charred body, a new Orochimaru emerged from his mouth. He looked at Tianyu in surprise and said in surprise. Is this the ability of the monkey just now? Tianyu rolled his eyes. What is a monkey? Why don't they call it a long-handed clan? You are disrespecting them. Yakushi Kabuto on the side looked expressionless. Bah, you have already reduced people to corpses, and you still respect them. Orochimaru looked at Tianyu as if he were looking at a treasure. If he couldn't defeat him, he would arrest Tianyu and study it carefully. A body that can travel across all realms is what I really want. Looking at it now, Naruto, Sasuke, etc. are all weak. Sensing Orochimaru's ill intentions, Tianyu glared at him. Don't think about it, there's no way. He took out the special kunai he had prepared and stuffed it directly into the back of Senju Hashirama's head. Hashirama's body was exuding waves of heat, and his body that was originally like paper gradually began to become rosy and shiny. Huh, where is this? Senju Hashirama's eyes became much more lively, but the dark eyeballs looked particularly irritating. Is Impure World reincarnation? Tobarama came up with a very troublesome ninjutsu. It seems that it is not banned. Was it you who summoned me, Wei? The dead in Impure World reincarnation summoning are connected to the caster. Itachi relied on this connection to find Yakushi Kabuto after he got rid of the control of the curse seal. Therefore, Senju Hashirama immediately noticed Tianyu as a spell caster. Tianyu laughed. I have long admired you, the legendary ninja god. Hello, I am 23 and my granddaughter's boyfriend. Orochimaru, Yakushi Kabuto, Senju Hashirama. Tianyu spread his hands with an innocent look. What do you think I'm doing? I'm telling the truth. He smiled at Senju Hashirama and said, there are no special requirements for calling you out this time. It's just like letting you come out of the Pure Land to relax. Don't worry, the sacrifices used this time are scumbag pirates who have done all kinds of evil, including murder, arson, rape and robbery. Even if they don't become sacrifices, they will all be executed. Senju Hashirama looked at Tianyu with a pained face. Release. Tianyu nodded sincerely. I really don't have any requirements, I just want you to experience the scenery of this other world. Senju Hashirama was stunned. Another world. Tianyu clapped his palms and said with an embarrassed look. Look at me, I didn't make it clear that this is not the ninja world, but otherworld. Watching Senju Hashirama's retreating figure, Orochimaru couldn't help but ask Tianyu. You really don't care about him? Tianyu glanced at Orochimaru sideways. You really don't know why Impure World reincarnation was changed to forbidden technique. Don't think that the spell is omnipotent, the accuracy of the dirt is different, and the spell is not enough to command Senju Hashirama. At this time, Orochimaru's understanding of Impure World reincarnation is even less than that of Tianyu, a time traveler. If Orochimaru still uses the 3 genin in the anime as sacrifices to summoning the first generation and the second generation, he may be able to control the 2 of them with the spell. But the sacrifice at this time was Yumi Nappu, one of the 12 supernovas in the pirate world. Although it has not yet developed, its vitality is stronger than that of White Zetsu. Therefore, Tianyu immediately sensed after Hashirama's resurrection that the spell may not be enough to control Senju Hashirama. Tianyu looked at Senju Hashirama's leaving figure and fell into deep thought. Sacrifice, accuracy, caster, summoning, kunai. He always felt that this set of operations looked particularly familiar. This feeling became clearer especially after learning Impure World reincarnation personally. Tianyu looked at Senju Hashirama and murmured unconsciously. Even if you don't care, it's still the same, he is Senju Hashirama. Orochimaru frowned. What do you mean? Tianyu grinned. Senju Hashirama, the holy mother on earth, but the pirate world is ruled by scum. Orochimaru smacked his lips and suddenly smiled when he remembered the information delivered by his subordinates in the past 2 days. Tianyu on the other side even rented a hotel directly to focus on Senju Hashirama. The caster of Impure World reincarnation can descend into consciousness through the body of the Impure World reincarnation subject. Tianyu felt as if he was playing first-person VR. Senju Hashirama left Tianyu and began to wander around aimlessly. When he learned that this was an otherworld, his curiosity was indeed aroused. Now that Senju Hashirama is dead, his obsession with Konoha village is not as strong as it was before he was alive. If Konoha still exists, he will be surprised. But if there is a war in the ninja world, he will be helpless. He will not protect the peace of Konoha even if he stabs Uchiha Madara in the waist like before. In his opinion, he is already dead and the future is decided by the living people themselves. If Uchiha Madara hadn't popped up during the 4th Ninja War, he wouldn't have even planned to rush to the battlefield to help. So at this time, Senju Hashirama has been wandering around the Sabayati archipelago with a playful attitude. Until he met the man asking for directions. Senju Hashirama wandered to island number 24 and found strangely that everyone on the island was either kneeling on the ground or hiding in a dark corner. He found an islander and asked curiously, "What are you all kneeling for?" The islander shuddered, glared at Senju Hashirama with an angry expression, and then buried his head in the ground without moving. Senju Hashirama scratched his head. This world is so strange. Suddenly, there was a jingling sound of shaking chains coming from the end of the street. Senju Hashirama raised his head and looked over. A man dressed in white sitting on a thin slave with bubbles on his head. Celestial dragons caught his eye. Celestial dragons Charo's Saint. Saint Charos held several thick iron chains in his hands, one of which held the slave kneeling and crawling beneath him. The other 2 were holding 2 beautiful slaves wearing dancers' costumes. He was followed by world government officials, and behind him were 3 guards in armor. The strange monk Yoroj smacked his lips. Celestial dragons. They are shining so unscrupulously even in the lawless zone. They are really a troublesome race. It seems that we can only kneel down and wait for him to pass. Saint Charles was chewing the ice cream in his hand with a depressed look on his face. Neither Shilulia Palace nor my father are waiting for me. The official on the side consoled him. Don't worry, sir, we know the destination of Shilulia Palace and your father. Just rush there slowly. He looked at the slave beneath him and shouted angrily. It's all your fault. You're as slow and wobbly as a turtle, and it's terrible to ride you. You're such an irritating guy. As St. Charles said that, he held his hard-working head with his high heels. The already exhausted slave's arms shook even more. Senju Hashirama looked at the scene in front of him in shock. A spontaneous anger emerged from his heart. He was born in the Sengoku period, and from an early age he accepted the will to fight for his family and die with honor. In Senju Hashirama's view, death is not terrible, but the humiliation is beyond his comprehension. As a ninja, even if he is caught and subjected to various tortures, he will not give in at all, let alone this kind of behavior of treating people like animals. And at this moment, several medical staff rescuing patients hurried past celestial dragons carrying a stretcher. Upon seeing this, St. Charles immediately opened his eyes in shock. Hey, you guys stop here. A mere human being actually shows up in front of me. He threw away the chains and ice cream, and walked towards the several medical staff with an angry look on his face. The doctor carrying the stretcher trembled and apologized. Yes, I'm sorry. Please let us go, we are patients with serious bleeding. We have to race against time, the hospital is right in front of us. St. Charles tilted his head and looked at the seriously ill patient on the stretcher with his mentally retarded face and screamed. Huh, really? This can't be done. We have to hurry up. Help him get out of here. He suddenly raised his foot and kicked the stretcher to the ground. The supernovas and kneeling islanders who were watching looked at the celestial dragons with shock on their faces. These guys are more messy than imagined. Street. Charles asked with a proud face to the world government official on the side. Which is more important, my decency or the lives of untouchables? The official immediately flattered him and said, of course there are pariahs only if there are celestial dragons. St. Charles nodded with satisfaction, turned his head and looked behind him, and suddenly found that the nurse on the ground was quite pretty. Especially the ravine on the chest is exposed, and the proud capital is exciting. When St. Charles saw this, he immediately became distraught. He looked around at the nurses and immediately clapped his hands and said, Shinshi, let you be my wife. The official nodded very quickly and said flatteringly. Then, I will immediately go through the procedures for the 13th wife to settle in the Holy Land. St. Charles said impatiently after hearing this. Ah, I'm tired of wives number 1 to 5, let them be pariahs. I see. It was obvious that this was how Ginny was captured as a sex slave by Charles Saint's biological father. The nurse shouted in horror. Please wait a moment, A man rushed out from the side, interrupted the nurse and continued shouting. Please wait a moment, that's my fiancé. However, St. Charles didn't listen to the man's explanation at all. He directly took out a firecracker and pulled the trigger at the man. There was a burst of exclamation at the scene, and everyone closed their eyes. But soon they discovered that there were no screams coming from the scene. Everyone opened their eyes, and there was a man wearing leather armor standing in front of his fiancé. The supernovas widened their eyes. Who was that? When did he show up? Senju Hashirama looked at Cha opposite with a livid face. Saint Erlos, the anger in his heart could not stop surging. He shouted angrily, why are you kneeling to this piece of trash? Everyone at the scene was in an uproar. St. Charles looked at the man opposite him in disbelief, with no respect at all, and his whole brain was confused. What did this untouchable say? This untouchable was scolding himself. He hadn't been in this situation since he was born. The official behind him immediately stood up and yelled. Asshole, do you know who you are talking to? This is Lord Celestial Dragons. He is a descendant of the Creator. Senju Hashirama's face was cold and his eyes were full of disdain. Creator. What the hell? Just this kind of rubbish, not to mention what kind of descendant it is, even if the Creator is standing in front of me, I will still say that. Everyone looked at Senju Hashirama in shock. It seems that I didn't expect that someone would dare to disobey celestial dragons like this. St. Charles simply couldn't believe that someone would slander him so boldly. He pointed the blunderbuss at Senju Hashirama again and pulled the trigger again. Go to hell. Senju Hashirama's anger level exploded with a bang. Although he was a holy mother, he was only targeting the villagers of Konoha village. As a first Hokage who had fought his way out of the Sengoku era, he had no intention of holding back. Senju Hashirama clapped his hands and shouted angrily. Wood-style cutting technique. A terrifying tree branch suddenly stabbed out of the ground and instantly struck the belly of celestial dragons. At this time, St. Charles finally felt the fear of death and the piercing pain. He screamed loudly in pain and wailed wildly. However, this technique is not over yet. The branches in his belly grew wildly, and 057 broke out from all parts of St. Charles' body in just an instant. The whole body of St. Charles was riddled with holes, leaving only a complete head wailing in pain. Everyone looked at the celestial dragons who had become tree people with horror on their faces. The whole world seemed to be left with only the low moan of the holy Charos. Senju Hashirama snorted coldly. Wood-style laughing Buddha jutsu. A huge wood-style palm rises from the ground again. It went down with a bang. St. Charles instantly turned into a puddle of flesh. The trembling ground made government officials finally return home. He looked at the already unrecognizable St. Charles in horror and screamed. How dare you kill celestial dragons? Catch him quickly, otherwise we will all die. Several iron guards behind him rushed towards Senju Hashirama. Senju Hashirama snorted coldly. He clasped his hands together again and shouted angrily. Aiding the evildoer. Damn it. This time several tree vines jumped up from the ground, directly binding several people tightly. The huge force came, and the iron guards were instantly squeezed into tin cans. The scalps of the supernovas watching were numb. Strong. So strong. Very strong. This is a monster. In the most peripheral corner, Luo looked at Senju Hashirama with a shocked look on his heart beating crazily. This man. He's not from this world. The way the opponent uses his moves is almost the same as the ninjutsu he used when he fought with Tianyu. It's just that the person in front of me doesn't have any seals. But he heard what he called wood style. The surge of hockey. When Senju Hashirama broke out was frightening, and he swore that the person in front of him was definitely more terrifying than Doflamingo. Luo took a deep breath. Stronger than Shichibukai. A strong man at the level of 4 emperors. Even he was not so shocked when he faced Shukaku. Because although Shukaku's power is strong, it cannot threaten Doflamingo. At best, it is about the same as it, or even slightly weaker. But the person in front of him only had a brief outburst that made him frightened. At this time, Luo's mind was full of questions. Didn't Tianyu come to support Marine? Why did he start a fight with celestial dragons? At this time, the younger brother behind him pulled Luo's shoulders hard and shouted. Run quickly, boss, Admiral is coming. Huh, oh, Admiral. Luo took a deep look at the unscrupulous Senju Hashirama. His instinct told him that even if Admiral came, he might not be able to do anything to the man in front of him. However, in order to avoid being affected, he still chose to evacuate with the crew. The rest of the supernovas stared blankly at the fearless Senju Hashirama with ugly expressions. Madman, this guy is a madman. Actually attacking the celestial dragons, and killing them directly, this will drive the world government crazy. The reason why the celestial dragons dare to travel so arrogantly with such a small number of guards is precisely because they have spent hundreds of years carving the mark of slaves and fear on the people. As God. Brand. God. As inviolable, and cannot be violated.